Chapter 1333. Within the snowstorm, the black fog lingered without dispersing. After a while, Gu Qingshan noticed something wasn't right and hurriedly called out, "Wang Xiaoyi." No answer. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. Wang Xiaoyi was the name of the other scout. After entering the black fog, he and Wang Xiaoyi had split up a bit to increase the range of their search, but he couldn't find them in the blink of an eye. "Wang Xiaoyi," he called out again. Still no answer. Within the boundless black fog, there was only the sound of the howling northern wind. As a Sumeru Lord Realm cultivator, Gu Qingshan's inner sight was more than enough to observe a radius of several 10,000 miles. But within this black fog, his inner sight could only observe a range of 10 meters. Anything beyond that would be blocked by the black fog. Without a choice, Gu Qingshan stopped. It wasn't suitable for him to continue heading deeper into the black fog. After a bit of thought, he took off the metal gauntlet and took out a pair of thin leather gauntlets instead. These were the beast-hide gauntlets that Banishing Sword Saint Wang Shun gave him, a birthday present for Li Qiushan. These gauntlets could summon flames to strengthen themselves, much more powerful than the standard gauntlets that the guards wore. Gu Qingshan put on the leather gauntlets, then put on another pair of metal gauntlets to avoid being seen. Since something had already happened on Wang Xiaoyi's side, it would be better to follow the direction he left to see what was going on. Gu Qingshan slowly retreated, quickly arriving at the place where the two of them separated. He recalled the situation at the time, then followed the direction Wang Xiaoyi went, parted the black fog, and slowly moved forward. About 200 meters later, a small noise could be heard from ahead. A figure quickly retreated from the snowstorm and met Gu Qingshan. "Wang Xiaoyi, what exactly happened?" Gu Qingshan asked. The figure stopped in front of him. Sure enough, it was Wang Xiaoyi. "Hurry, I found some valuable information. I need to report it to the captain." Wang Xiaoyi spoke with a nervous expression. "Got it," Gu Qingshan replied. He turned around and prepared to run back. Behind him, Wang Xiaoyi suddenly smiled viciously. He took out a long saber and slashed at Gu Qingshan. In a flash, Gu Qingshan suddenly switched places with him. The cold blade sliced through the air, but it didn't hit anything. Wang Xiaoyi's vision blurred, and Gu Qingshan was nowhere to be found. Then he felt a burning pain on his back. Boom! The flames trembled. Gu Qingshan punched him and sent him flying. He bounced on the ground and rolled for dozens of meters. Cough, cough. Wang Xiaoyi spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes regaining clarity. "Quick, save me. There's a monster in my body," he said in a panic. Gu Qingshan walked up to him and looked down at him. "I'm here. Don't be afraid. I have to knock you out first before I can bring you back safely. Is there a problem?" Gu Qingshan asked. "No," Wang Xiaoyi immediately replied. Gu Qingshan nodded, raised her hand, and lightly slashed at his neck. Wang Xiaoyi instantly fainted. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief and turned Wang Xiaoyi's body around so that his face was facing downwards. He muttered, "There, this way. I won't be doing something that goes against my identity in front of the living beings of this world." Gu Qingshan stepped on Wang Xiaoyi's head so that he couldn't see anything, then grabbed the Devil King Warden Rod from the void of space and pierced through Wang Xiaoyi's body. "Embark, Li Qiushan, what are you doing?" The intense pain brought Wang Xiaoyi back to his senses, and he let out a shrill scream. Holding the Devil King Warden Rod in hand, Gu Qingshan's expression became more and more serious. There's no soul inside Wang Xiaoyi's body. What exactly is controlling Wang Xiaoyi's body? "Who are you?" Gu Qingshan asked. Wang Xiaoyi froze. He stopped screaming and spoke with a judgmental tone. "Something from Huang Quan. So you're a mortal who obtained the deity's seat of reincarnation. No wonder you found me." Gu Qingshan spoke in a low voice. "Where's Wang Xiaoyi? If you don't want to die, give me his soul." Wang Xiaoyi abruptly laughed and shouted. "Soul? His soul has already entered the graveyard. There's no way to give it back to you." Gu Qingshan clenched his fist tightly. Sparks of fire circled around his fist and gathered into a ball of flame. "I'll say it one last time. Give me his soul, or I'll kill you," Gu Qingshan declared. The other party laughed for a bit, then casually replied, "Mortal, the seed of deity doesn't suit you. When the graveyard begins to spread, I will come find you again." As soon as he said so, Wang Xiaoyi collapsed on the ground, no longer moving. Gu Qingshan crouched down and touched his neck with his hand. Dead. Snow and wind howled around them, but there were no other sounds coming from the black fog. Gu Qingshan went silent for a while. "This monster isn't a soul. Otherwise, with the Devil King Warden Rod in my hand, I wouldn't have let it escape. In other words, this is a monster that can devour souls and directly replace living beings. But it definitely can't directly devour souls. There must be some other conditions that need to be fulfilled before it can do so. Otherwise, when it met me, it wouldn't have used a blade to ambush me, but to devour my soul instead." "No soul, this is going to be troublesome," Gu Qingshan muttered. He picked up Wang Xiaoyi's body and quickly retreated. A few moments later, he had already left the black fog. The squad of guards was still waiting for news. Other than that, some of the kingdom's combatants had also arrived. The officer glanced at Wang Xiaoyi's body and asked with a change of expression, "How did he die? What exactly happened inside?" Gu Qingshan placed Wang Xiaoyi's body on the ground, saluted, then began to explain what happened. After he finished, everyone fell into thought. A combatant wearing the uniform of a general spoke up. "Very well, this matter is no longer something you guards can deal with. Return to guard the gate, yes." The guards replied in unison. Gu Qingshan looked at the general. From him, Gu Qingshan could sense a familiar presence. That child, the possessed child, if he grew up, he would probably look like this. Who would have thought he would be given such a powerful identity? Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a sense of danger. A second later, the general signaled to Gu Qingshan with his eyes and loudly said, "Li Qiushan, you're quite the smart one, and your adaptability is quite good. Let me ask you, do you want to be the vice captain of the gate, or do you want to be my personal guard?" Saying so, he sent a telepathic message to Gu Qingshan. "Shaman, come be my personal guard. This way it'll be easier for us to move together." Gu Qingshan nodded and loudly said, "General, I want to be the vice captain of the gate." The general's expression froze. "What do you mean by that?" He sent his voice. "Nothing. The black fog is too dangerous. I'm not going," Gu Qingshan replied. "Don't be ridiculous. You're the general, and I'm a soldier. As long as you order me to do something in front of everyone, I have to listen to you. You're the blade. I'm the fish." Gu Qingshan wouldn't do that. The general went silent for a brief moment. In front of everyone, the general forced a smile and laughed. "A talent like you still wants to continue guarding the gate? This old man thinks it's better not to." He turned to the gate captain next to him and said, "From now on, Li Qiushan will be under my cavalry. Do you have any objections?" "Yes." The gate captain didn't dare to say anything and hurriedly replied. He patted Gu Qingshan's shoulder and said, "The general appreciates you. Do your best and don't embarrass me." "Yes, sir." Gu Qingshan had no choice but to reply. Since the general had given his orders, a gate guard like him couldn't go against it. Following his reply, a line of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god. "UI, frowny face, your identity has been changed. You are now the general's personal cavalry. Within this apocalypse illusion, you cannot do anything that goes against your identity under the watchful eyes of the local living beings. Otherwise, you will be directly thrown into the center of the apocalypse to endure endless torture." Gu Qingshan looked at the general. The general also looked at him. The fragile alliance between the two sides was shattered in the face of the arrival of doomsday. "So you're planning to leave me in this apocalypse?" Gu Qingshan sent his voice. "Shaman, just look at yourself. You can't even go against me in front of everyone. If you dare to do that, you'll be thrown into the depths of the apocalypse." The general smirked and continued, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance, so I don't need to worry about anything else." He swung the weapon in his hand and loudly declared, "Cavalry, form up." "Yes, sir." All the cavalrymen responded. Due to the restriction of his identity, Gu Qingshan had no choice but to respond as well. He didn't even have a horse, so he could only temporarily stand at the edge of the cavalry. The general began to issue his orders. "Advance. Go into the black fog. Kill any monsters you see without mercy." Also, the general's gaze fell onto Gu Qingshan and slowly spoke. "Without my order, no one is allowed to return." Those who disobey will be punished by military law. Mobile version of the fastest updated website. Chapter 1334. The black fog shrouded the wilderness. The entire cavalry squad assumed a defensive formation and continued to move forward. Gu Qingshan was running behind the cavalry squad. It couldn't be helped. Since he was a last-minute promotion, he didn't have time to equip his equipment or mount before he entered battle. All of a sudden, the Earth Sword's voice came. Gu Qingshan, you might as well take this chance to leave the squad. Luo Bingley also followed up. We've already noticed that the laws of this world are focused on each person's identity, Shanu continued. Just now, you indeed couldn't go against a military order, but that general isn't nearby right now, and you're at the very back of the squad. As long as you run away right now, your identity will become a deserter, and you won't die. Gu Qing Shan shook her head. Just like you said, the laws of this world are focused on each person's identity. If I become a deserter, I'll be even more disliked by this world, which will only bring me closer to danger. That's why I can't become a deserter. Luo Bingley was confused. Then what do? We can't just go and die like this, Gu Qingshan replied. Even now, we still don't know what the apocalypse is, so let's wait and see first. The cavalry squad was moving forward quickly. While Gu Qingshan was talking to the three swords, the entire squad had already gone past the place he checked before. In just a few dozen breaths worth of time, the area in front of them suddenly became clear. They were already out of the area covered by the black fog. Gu Qingshan became spirited, lightly jumped at the very back of the squad, and looked forward, only to see a barren wilderness in front of them. Grave after grave covered the entire wilderness as far as their eyes could see. Some of these graves were big, some were small, some were tall, some were short, some were even taller than the clock tower of the capital city, while a few unassuming graves were about the size of a human graveyard. Across this barren wilderness filled with graves, at the end of everyone's line of sight stood a large ship. Strange, this ship clearly landed on the main road, not too far from the city gate. So why did it suddenly turn into a barren wilderness filled with graveyards? While Gu Qingshan was curious, some of the ground around the graveyard began to loosen. One by one, skeletons crawled out from the ground. They held broken shields and swords in their hands as they slowly walked towards the cavalry. Gu Qingshan's eyes narrowed. Skeleton, such a low-level monster, wanted to resist a well-armed cavalry? At this moment, the captain of the cavalry at the front of the group turned around and looked at him. Unfortunately, he didn't have a mount, nor did he have the necessary weapons for a mounted battle. He only had a pair of boxing gloves. The cavalry captain said, "That Li Qiushan, you don't have to ride. You don't even know how to ride a horse." "Ah, yes, sir," Gu Qingshan hurriedly replied. The cavalry laughed good-naturedly. "Newbie, go back and train before going to the battlefield." Someone shouted, "Silence." The cavalry captain shouted, "Ready, change formation, meet the enemy." The entire cavalry changed from a defensive formation to an offensive one. All the mounts began to slowly accelerate, preparing to charge. Gu Qingshan looked ahead. The cavalrymen raised their long-handled weapons. Closer, closer. In just a few breaths worth of time, the cavalry at the front had fully accelerated. "Kill!" All the cavalrymen shouted. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Within the dust cloud, the cavalrymen charged straight at the skeletons. Unstoppable. The skeletons were killed on the spot. The ones that managed to escape were also knocked down by the cavalry, then stomped into a pile of broken bones. The cavalry captain laughed maniacally. "Ahaha! A puny undead monster dares to stop our attack. You've overestimated yourself." The cavalrymen cheered. All of a sudden, a voice came from deep within the graveyard. "Celebrating too early is often a sign of failure." Gu Qingshan's expression changed. From the sound of it, it was the monster that he talked to before. "Be careful. That's a particularly powerful monster," he loudly reminded everyone. But it was too late. The voice came again. "Mortals, all the evil you have committed shall be returned to you, while the things you kill shall be reborn." This sounded like an incantation. Before the cavalrymen could react, something happened. A grand waterfall of light appeared from the void of space. All the cavalrymen who attacked the skeletons were enveloped by this waterfall of light. A voice came from within the waterfall of light. Ready, change formation, meet the enemy. Several dozen voices responded at once. Kill. This was the order and attack that the cavalrymen gave before. In a split second, blurred figures appeared from the waterfall of light, charging straight towards the cavalrymen. Charge! Amidst the clamor of galloping, these blurred figures were getting closer and closer. That's my shadow, one of the cavalrymen shouted in fear. I see myself. Why is this happening? Another soldier loudly shouted. Stop arguing, everyone defend. The cavalry captain shouted. The cavalrymen hurriedly formed a defensive formation. But it was useless. The blurred figures formed by the waterfall of light charged straight through everyone's bodies. Death. Blood splattered everywhere. Severed limbs scattered everywhere. The entire cavalrymen were completely destroyed by this charge, just like what happened to the skeletons. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Intense wind kicked up as the blizzard howled. All living creatures were completely scattered by the flowing light, turning into blood and bones that scattered in all directions in the wind and snow. While the skeletons that were already destroyed quickly reformed their bodies and came back to life. Gu Qingshan opened his eyes wide, watching this unbelievable scene in front of him. All of a sudden, a smear of blood flew towards Gu Qingshan, staining his face. Gu Qingshan didn't try to dodge. This was the blood of a certain cavalryman. Just a moment ago, he was still alive and kicking. Unfortunately, in front of such an eerie power, all of his efforts were insignificant and powerless. Gu Qingshan sighed, wiped the blood with his finger, and put it in front of his eyes. What kind of ability did the monster use this time? Could it be that anyone's attack will be reflected back on their own body? How am I supposed to fight this? All of a sudden, a pair of spiky hands reached out from the void of space and grabbed Gu Qingshan's neck. The monster spoke with killing intent. It's you again, mortal. This time I'm going to... His voice was cut off. Being choked, Gu Qingshan couldn't move at all. Come on, kill me. He taunted the monster, opened his gaunt-covered hand, and broke off a small portion of the spikes on the monster's arm. At the same time, a provocative bird's cry came from the void of space. Xiao! Xiao Xiao! The monster abruptly looked up, but the bird's cry had already disappeared. No matter how hard it tried, it couldn't find any traces of the other party. A moment of silence. A furious roar resounded from the void of space. You bastard who stole my ability. Do you think you can deal with me just like that? It threw Gu Qingshan far away. Gu Qingshan flew for several dozen meters before safely landing. As he was about to say something, the pair of spiky hands began to dance in the air towards the graveyard. Seeds that have been slumbering underground. Now is the time for you to awaken. The monster raised its voice and chanted. In just a few moments, the endless graveyard began to move. Even the one that was as tall as a bell tower in the middle began to split apart. Seeing that, Gu Qingshan didn't say anything and turned to run. The monster chuckled in a low voice. You won't be able to escape. The entire world will face the fate of destruction, let alone a mortal like you. But Gu Qingshan didn't care about that. He was running as fast as he could back the way he came. Faster, faster, faster. The monsters are about to come back to life. The heaven sword appeared behind him. Luo Bingli's incredulous voice came. Gu Qingshan, we haven't even fought, and you're already running away. That's not the case, it's just that before I acted, I felt... Gu Qingshan coldly spoke. Someone should pay for the deaths of these cavalrymen. He continued to use ground shrink, while also flying in between divine skills, quickly reaching the edge of the fog. Shano, Gu Qingshan called out. I'm here, Gongzi. An autumn-clear blue sword appeared from the void of space and turned into a cold woman. Gu Qingshan threw the spike to her and said, Provoke that guy. Got it. Shanu held the monster's spike and solemnly replied. She activated Mystery of all beings equal and slowly turned into a terrifying and eerie monster. Gu Qingshan wiped the remaining blood off his face, then activated Mystery of all beings equal to turn into a cavalryman. He once again flew forward, covering several thousand meters in just a few breaths. He escaped from the black fog. 3 rolls. 2 rolls. Stop. Gu Qingshan crouched down and spat up some blood, shouting in a daze, "General! General, sir!" The people who were originally waiting still heard a resounding voice from within the black fog. While they were still shocked, the cavalrymen had already returned with heavy wounds. The general scowled and shouted, "What happened? What happened?" Gu Qingshan cried, "Our people are all dead. That monster is too strong. Too strong. It said that if we're too weak, if even our commander doesn't dare to enter the black fog to fight against it, then we should quickly submit to it and become its slaves. That's the only way to survive." All was quiet. The general took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. "I'm the general now. I'm the general now. I definitely can't do anything that goes against my status." The 2 subordinates who went against their status before have already disappeared. The general silently muttered in his mind a few times, then suddenly laughed. "You want to trick me into fighting it with such a deceptive tactic?" All of a sudden, the monster's voice came from within the black fog, immediately suppressing the general's voice. "Ah, humanity's commander. I'll be waiting for you inside the black fog. If you're nothing but a cowardly piece of trash, then just wait for the black fog to spread. At that time, the entire world will be destroyed by me." Everyone froze. It really is the monster's voice. It's issuing a challenge to humanity's commander. Everyone turned to look at the general. At this point, the cavalryman wiped his face and begrudgingly spoke. "General, our brothers are all dead. This subordinate begs you to avenge them." Avenge? The general was forced to stand still. His mouth opened and closed for a long while, unable to say a single word. "If I don't go in now, that doesn't fit with my status as the general." It thought silently and finally confirmed the answer. Chapter 1335. The guard was covered in blood. His head was bleeding as he crouched in the snow, clearly risking his life to come back to report the situation. The general gritted his teeth in anger, but couldn't do anything in front of everyone's eyes. Fortunately, the war shaman was already dead. This was good news, but also bad news. Even the war shaman died inside the black fog. Why should I face such an apocalypse? But if I don't, I'll be done for if I go against my status. How should I face the current situation? Speaking of which, as a commander, if I don't stand up against the enemy's provocation, I'll be a disqualified commander. Unless something unexpected happens. Unexpected? What kind of unexpected thing could happen in this situation? Do I have a stomachache? That would most likely be thrown into the center of the apocalypse by the laws of this world. The general's gaze quickly scanned through everyone here. These people are all too weak. If my subordinates were here, I might be able to go in and fight. While he was thinking, a commotion could be heard outside the city gate. "General! General!" Someone loudly shouted. Everyone looked back and saw 20 soldiers dressed in neat and tidy armor, following an officer as they quickly ran over. They rushed in front of the general, performed a military salute, and loudly declared, "General, please lead us into battle." The general froze. The war shaman's subordinates from the tomb of myriad beasts had all been brought here, and a portion of them were my subordinates. These people were all dragged into the apocalypse, temporarily lost contact with each other, and haven't been found yet. They should have taken different identities to make a living in the capital city. They couldn't easily change their identities and become my subordinates. This was the biggest headache. Who exactly was it that was able to find all of them and lead them to me? The general's gaze shifted to one of the military officers. This was also one of his subordinates, but after entering this world, he became a military officer, responsible for selecting unique talents for the military, nothing more. Selecting talents? The general suddenly realized. This brat had used the power of the army to find everyone. The military officer loudly declared, "General, you ordered me to select talents from among the civilians and form a special force. I found these combatants with unique powers for you. All of them are willing to follow your orders." The general turned to his subordinates. The issue of identity. Under the condition of being conscripted by the army, There was a legitimate reason to change a person's identity. The laws of the world would not interfere with this, whether it was the war priest's subordinates or his own subordinates. Since they had become soldiers, they had to listen to his orders in battle. Otherwise, they would be directly thrown into the apocalypse. This was a brilliant move. Who would have thought that at this crucial moment, his trusted subordinates would actually gather all the people from the war priest? What about the rest of us? The general transmitted his voice to the military affairs officer. Time is tight, so I haven't had the time to look through everything. This is all I've found for now. The military affairs officer transmitted his voice. That's right, finding these 20 people in such a short time is already not bad. Ah, well done. The general laughed. These were all old monsters who were used to dealing with the apocalypse. Under his command, even if they encountered an apocalypse illusion, they would be able to put up a fight. At this time, the soldier who escaped from the black fog was already on a stretcher. He suddenly raised his fist and shouted, "General is mighty!" Everyone followed suit and shouted, "The general is mighty! General is mighty! General is mighty!" The general slightly nodded. It's really that matter. Since I can't go against my identity, and I have my trusted subordinates, I might as well go and fight. He patted the military affairs officer's shoulder and said, "You're just an office worker. You shouldn't be on the front lines. You will continue to search for powerful people for this general." Understood, the military affairs officer replied. The general pointed out the 20 people in front of him and shouted, "Come, follow me to fight that monster. Everyone else, stay where you are." At this point, he had realized something. I can't let the people of this world follow me. That would be very inconvenient. Even in battle, I'd be afraid of exposing my true identity. My hands and feet would be tied. Understood, everyone loudly replied. The general took the lead and led the 20 old monsters forward. They quickly disappeared into the thick black fog. Other than them, everyone else remained outside the black fog, ready to fight. Only Gu Shan was placed on a stretcher, carried by 2 guards towards the city gate. When they reached the city gate, the military affairs officer rode his horse and caught up to them. He urged his horse and the stretcher to move side by side, then turned to look at Gu Shan. "Are your wounds serious?" he asked. "I'm fine," Gu Shan replied. The 2 of them nodded, didn't say anything else, and began to send their voices. "We cooperated quite well this time. I didn't think you would be able to force him to this point. I almost couldn't grasp the time well enough," the military affairs officer said. Gu Shan helplessly replied, "He attacked me first. To be honest, I originally wanted to observe for a bit longer before deciding what to do, but now I think it's best to get rid of these monsters as soon as possible," the military affairs officer nodded. "I also think so. Since the apocalypse is about to come, let them fight against the apocalypse." The 2 of them remained silent for a while. Apocalypse versus monsters. It doesn't matter which side is wiped out completely. This is also a good opportunity to see what kind of apocalypse it is. Gu Shan asked, "Other than you, is there another me?" The military affairs officer replied, "We didn't just kill this military affairs officer. There was another monster as well. He turned into that monster and followed us to scout the situation, if necessary. He'll act as a sniper or something. Then there's nothing for us to worry about for now." Gu Shan calmed down and muttered, "Cooperating with myself. This feels quite good," the military affairs officer replied. "HM, I also didn't think I would run into another me, mainly because this great tomb is too bizarre, able to allow people from different space-time to appear at the same time. I'm guessing that quite a few combatants from parallel worlds are currently exploring the depths of the great tomb. The tomb of myriad beasts had fused 99% of its fragments to create this great tomb. What do you think would happen if the other paths of reincarnation also fused this many fragments?" Gu Shan asked. "That's hard to say. I'm also guessing." As they chatted, time quickly passed. They entered the city and arrived at a fortress. After a priest who specialized in healing came to take a look, Gu Shan's external wounds were all healed. "After this illusion ends, you will most likely be transported back to where you were before, while I'm still in the Tomb River, on top of the Wraith's corpse," Gu Shan said. "You rode its corpse here?" The military affairs officer was surprised. It's a living monster. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came. It's me. Shanhai Chi Xia's voice came from outside. The military affairs officer grabbed a sword from the void of space, then turned to Gu Qingshan. We're on the same side, Gu Qingshan replied. He opened the door. Shanhai Chi Xia came in and looked at the military affairs officer in shock. Without realizing it, she was already holding the purple bell in her hand and quickly said, Gu Qingshan, he's a subordinate of the Beast King God. No. Relax, let me introduce you. This is me, Gu Qingshan said. Nice to meet you. I'm Gu Qingshan, the military affairs officer smiled and said. The military affairs officer's appearance slowly changed, turning into another Gu Qingshan. Compared to the original Gu Qingshan, his appearance didn't change at all, but from the shape of his body, he seemed to have a bit of a belly. Gu Qingshan also noticed this and appeared confused. Hey, what's going on with your belly? Gu Qingshan asked. The other Gu Qingshan appeared helpless and replied. It's because of the order. I'm carrying World's Apocalypse Online. Well. Gu Qingshan raised her eyebrows. Ah, that's right. Aside from cultivating, I have to be OL for the rest of the time in order to become stronger. The other Gu Qingshan rubbed his belly and muttered, I've been a hermit for too long, hit a bit too much, and became like this. Chapter 1336 World Apocalypse Online. Salted fish? Gu Qingshan froze. He muttered in confusion. But why is it called salted fish? I really don't understand. Why did the awaitings create such an order? The other Gu Qingshan replied, don't think too much about it. In truth, the original intention behind this was to protect those with potential, to prevent them from dying prematurely in the apocalypse before they could mature later on. When the awaitings gradually perfected this order, they probably felt that this order had a lot of potential, so they became a bit more serious and ended up like this. I'm sorry, I need to sleep for a bit. While saying so, he took out a bed, laid down on it, and covered himself with a blanket. Gu Qingshan, Shanhai Chi Xia. Gu Qingshan said, Hey, don't be in such a hurry to sleep. He sent his voice to ask. Earlier, you used mystery of all beings equal, and the other me also knows this technique. So you've both seen the giant corpse? Yes, we've seen it, but I really don't know what kind of entity it is. In truth, I also have a question. Initi Gu Qingshan appeared interested and asked, What kind of order did you carry? As Gu Qingshan was about to answer, lines of glowing text suddenly appeared on the War God UI. Can't say. You and I spent a lot of effort to return to the past during the Age of Old and created a closed space-time loop, making it so that no entity would be able to discover our origins. Although the one we're facing right now is the other you, and there's only a very small chance of this secret being revealed, we still need to be extremely cautious and not reveal a single thing. Gu Qingshan silently thought. I probably wouldn't reveal such a thing myself. The War God UI continued. Within the infinite worlds, there are bound to be a few abilities that you don't know about. As long as you mention it, there's a chance that someone will discover it. That's true. Seeing how cautious the War God UI was, Gu Qingshan also became cautious. I carried an order called Human Legion, Gu Qingshan replied. Is it a large-scale combat-type order? Ned Gu Qingshan replied. Yes. Sigh, I really envy you. You can fight at any time, anywhere, while I can only improve my strength by being a salted fish. As a salted fish, what exactly do you want to do? Gu Qingshan asked. Oh, I've already participated in the battle just now. Let me see. Net Gu Qingshan looked into the void of space and muttered. In order to better obtain power, my current mission is, after a short nap, I'll read comics for 20 minutes, eat a bowl of instant noodles, and drink 2 cans of beer. Oh, I'll also enter the game to do some daily tasks. It's not too troublesome, but it's a bit time-consuming. Looks like I'll have to hurry. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. The sound of snoring was soon heard. Gu Qingshan, Shanhai Chi Xia. Gu Qingshan, is that person really you? Shanhai Chi Xia couldn't help but ask. Of course, to be able to fall asleep so quickly means that he's very well trained. Not many people would be able to do that. Gu Qingshan crossed her arms and spoke with a confident tone. Right. What did you do outside the city just now? Shan Haiqixia asked. Gu Qingshan then told her what happened, focusing on the tombs as well as the monster's causality law ability. Shan Haiqixia scowled. Oh no, so it was an apocalypse of this level. Seems like we're in danger. What do you mean by level? Gu Qingshan asked. Shan Haiqixia replied. Our tomb of myriad beasts often fought against apocalypses. As the upper echelons of this world, we've divided apocalypses into several levels according to how dangerous they are. I'm guessing that your 900 million world layers also has a corresponding apocalypse level. No, our 900 million world layers has never divided apocalypse levels, Gu Qingshan replied. Shan Haiqixia asked in surprise. How could that be? Don't you have a spatial grandmaster? Gu Qingshan replied. In truth, we were only facing a problematic order, then we were dealing with chaos, so we didn't have the time to worry about apocalypses. No, the apocalypse destroyed your world? That can't be right. We've observed quite a few, Shan Haiqixia asked. Quite a few, but we had to face too many problems before this, and the apocalypse was only one of them, Gu Qingshan sighed. At this point in time, the spire that represented knowledge and history had already been destroyed, so the 900 million world layers didn't have the same level of research as the Tomb of Myriad Beasts, nor did they have any special bone pieces to record and analyze the apocalypses. Wait a minute. What do you mean by spatial grandmaster? Gu Qingshan asked. Shan Haiqixia replied. Those with outstanding and powerful spatial abilities would be able to freely travel between worlds, record the characteristics and power of the apocalypse, not fearing normal apocalypses, and conduct corresponding research on them, Gu Qingshan recalled. Those with outstanding spatial abilities? There seems to be one. But that person is so addicted to shopping and delicious food that he rarely updates himself. So I can't expect that person to be in the mood to classify the apocalypses. Classifying the apocalypses into different levels was a sign of a considerable understanding of the apocalypse. This was something that had to be done. Ever since the Great Tomb appeared, the Tomb of Myriad Beasts have been constantly fighting against the apocalypses for so many years, so it could be said that they were the best at this. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan clasped her fist toward Shan Haiqixia and humbly said, I haven't heard anything about the apocalypses in the study lodge, so I want to ask you to tell me how the Tomb of Myriad Beasts classifies the apocalypses. I would be most grateful seeing how serious he was, Shan Haiqixia sincerely told him. Our Tomb of Myriad Beasts had researched the apocalypse for so many years, finally dividing the apocalypse into 4 levels. In order to prevent people from panicking, we've made the last 2 levels a secret standard that only high-ranking combatants are qualified to investigate and distinguish. These 4 levels are respectively sealed, unsolvable, unlivable, and unknowable. I'd like to hear the details, Gu Qingshan said. Sealed grade is an apocalypse that can be fought against and destroyed with the power of all living beings. Even if we can't destroy the apocalypse, we can think of a way to seal it so that it can't unleash its power or come out to destroy the world. Unsolvable is an apocalypse that we cannot destroy or seal away. In truth, the vengeful spirit apocalypse from last time was also an apocalypse that left us at our wits' end. The stronger a person is, the easier it is for them to die in this apocalypse. Furthermore, when an apocalypse of this level descends, the fate of living beings would become nothing more than a piece of duckweed in a tsunami. There is no need to even think about resisting it. The only thing they can do is to find a way to survive from within the countless deaths. The 3rd level is called unlivable. Whenever an apocalypse of this level appears, no one would be able to survive. No one has ever survived an apocalypse of this level, so the relevant information is extremely rare. Is there no information at all? Gu Qingshan asked. That's not the case. Whenever an apocalypse of this level appears, it would destroy the infinite worlds, or even trillions of worlds. It had appeared a few times in history, observed by our Tomb of Myriad Beasts, and secretly recorded it down. It was truly a terrifying sight. The final level is called unknowable. We have only recorded one such apocalypse. It was said that it came from outside the space vortex, not inside the reality gate, but I don't know the specifics. because only our strongest inheritor managed to witness it once through unique causality law ability. After that, he died, but before he died, he left a message to us, telling us that above unlivable, there is still the level of unknowable. Gu Qing Shan seriously listened, then nodded. That was an eye-opener. Our 900 million world layers will be able to use your standard from now on. Shan Hai Qixia appeared a bit prideful and asked, "Just now, you mentioned a certain term called awaitings. What kind of entities are they exactly?" "A few unbelievably powerful fellows who hide inside the reality gate. In order to think of a way to fight against the apocalypse, they created order and chaos," Gu Qingshan explained. Shan Hai Qixia was a bit speechless. She knew about order and chaos, but she had never heard of anyone who could create such a thing. At this point, a series of resounding noises resounded from outside. The ground trembled. On the bed, Gu Qingshan waved her hand, arranged a series of soundproof formations, then turned around and continued to sleep. Gu Qingshan didn't care about her ED self, walked up to the window, opened it, and looked outside, only to see that the black fog outside the city gate was rapidly surging. Unparalleled power clashed, giving off an earth-shattering sound. A hurricane-like shockwave blew from afar, blowing away the roofs of many buildings. Some people who were walking on the streets were directly blown away. "Such power, truly," Gu Qingshan muttered. All of a sudden, a streak of light flew through the sky, arriving at the edge of her field of vision. The sword flew in front of Gu Qingshan and stably stopped. Shanu's excited voice came from the sword. "Gongzi, they're fighting." Chapter 1337. The sound of explosions resounded throughout heaven and earth. The intense wind never stopped. Even with the black fog as cover, the shockwaves of the battle continued to spread in every direction, causing everyone to feel fearful. Gu Qingshan turned to Shan Hai Qixia and asked, "What kind of apocalypse is this?" Shan Hai Qixia replied, "According to your description of the battle, it should be unlivable grade, but considering that this is only an illusion, its power and degree of destruction would be greatly reduced. So I concluded that it should be second tier, unsolvable grade, unsolvable grade." Gu Qingshan muttered, "Unsolvable." Humanity was completely helpless, without any solutions. The only thing they could do was to think of a way to survive. Shan Hai Qixia glanced at him and said, "Fortunately, the Beast King God was tricked into that black fog by you. It had seen more apocalypses than our tomb of myriad beasts, so it should be able to buy us quite a bit of time by leading its subordinates to fight against an unsolvable apocalypse. However, it's unclear whether it's them or this unsolvable apocalypse that's stronger." As soon as Gu Qingshan said this, he abruptly went silent. Deep within the black fog outside the city, a crimson glow slowly manifested. Crimson, orange, light red, dark yellow, bright yellow. The glow grew brighter and brighter until it finally pierced through the black fog. A shrill howl resounded from deep within the black fog. "Let all be destroyed within the flames." Within the snowstorm, countless fireballs pierced through the black fog and flew in every direction. A rain of fire. Gu Qingshan's gaze focused. From these flying fireballs, he sensed countless individuals full of malice. The Beast King God and the others might fight against the apocalypse monsters for self-preservation, but they would never return to protect this city. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight and quickly scanned the entire city. Even though the alarm bells were ringing, it was already deep into the night, so the entire city couldn't establish any effective defenses in time. Boom! A fireball landed on the street in front of the castle, creating a deep crater. Soon enough, a crimson monster crawled out. It was composed entirely of crisscrossed bones. Its entire body exuded intense flames. Each step it took left a magma footprint on the ground. Such monsters gradually filled the entire city. Shan Hai Qixia stood at the window, looking around and said, "This is bad. This is a fire-type attack. Before this city can even react, it will turn into a sea of fire." That's right. The professionals in this world are all traditional knights and mages. I'm afraid it'll take some time to organize an effective defense. As Guqing Shan spoke, she took off the steel gloves on her hands, revealing the animal skin gloves inside. Isn't this a flame hide? Something that came from Wang Shun? Shan Hai Chi Xia asked. He gave it to me, but the current situation isn't suitable for me to use these gloves, Guqing Shan replied. He took off the animal skin gloves, carefully put them away, and put on the steel gloves again. Seeing that, Shan Hai Chi Xia took out the purple bell and said, I'll fight with you. There's no need for you to participate in such a small matter. You plan to deal with these monsters alone? Guqing Shan stretched her body and said, I haven't stretched my body for a long time. I remember there is a set of ice element fist technique in the school. Zhao Qiong showed it to you? Although elemental fist techniques are rare, that set of ice element fist techniques is only at the basic level. It's not particularly powerful, Shan Hai Chi Xia replied. I don't agree with that. Guqing Shan leapt out the window and flew straight towards a monster. The monster immediately noticed her and abruptly looked up at Guqing Shan, then opened her mouth and breathed out a cluster of flames. Guqing Shan swung her hand and casually threw a punch. The white fog-like cold air met the flames, instantly enveloped them, and returned to the monster's body. Instantly, a layer of white frost manifested on the monster's body, freezing it in place, unable to move. Guqing Shan lightly landed, raised a finger, and tapped the monster's body. Cracks began to appear on the monster's body, quickly spreading throughout its entire body. Crack! 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 The monster's entire body crumbled to the ground, leaving only a cluster of white fog lingering in place, giving off a bone-chilling presence. Shan Hai Chi Xia landed and stood next to Guqing Shan. No, I know this fist technique very well, but why does it have such power? It doesn't make sense. Shan Hai Chi Xia looked at the monster's corpse and muttered. Guqing Shan explained, someone once taught me a martial scripture, saying that as long as I chant it or think about it in my mind, I'll be able to make some progress in martial arts. At first, I didn't believe it, but now a shout suddenly resounded from above. The two of them looked up, only to see that Net Guqing Shan had woken up. He was holding a toothbrush in one hand, a glass of water in the other, a towel draped over his shoulder as he peeked out from the window. He pointed at the rain of flames in the sky. With so many monsters, killing just one is useless. Do you have any other ideas? Guqing Shan replied. I do, Shan Hai Chi Xia asked. But aren't you going to fight with us? Net Guqing Shan appeared helpless and replied. I've only just woken up, haven't brushed my teeth yet, and I still have to read manga in a bit. There's a rule in my order. Unless someone really can't solve it. As an Net, I'm not suited to be the savior of the world, then how do you usually fight? Guqing Shan asked in confusion. Net Guqing Shan lowered his voice. Quietly, Guqing Shan, Shan Hai Chi Xia. Fine, you should just rest for now. Only act when the time is right, Guqing Shan said with a headache. I'll deal with the current situation. Boundless black fog drifted around his body. His eyes abruptly turned into a pair of vertical pupils. The form of a black dragon slowly manifested. A hurricane slowly manifested. A black dragon that stretched across the sky soared straight into the clouds, circling above the entire city. After devouring the power of 3 dragons, Guqing Shan's current power had already surpassed the majority of the heroes and heroines of the Infinite Worlds. Unless it was an apocalypse or an ancient monster that had lived for countless years within the Great Tomb, normal people were no match for him. Not to mention, he could also transform into a dragon. Roar! The black dragon uttered a resounding roar. Its claws were gradually filled with frigid air. This frigid air followed the black dragon's movements, spreading across the sky and turning into a layer of blue ice that enveloped the entire city. Boom, 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 boom. Clusters of flames flew out from the black fog, struck the blue ice like a meteor shower, then were completely frozen, then fell from the sky, crashing to the ground and breaking into countless skeletal remains. None of the clusters of flames could break through the ice barrier and enter the city. Guqing Shan, who had transformed into a black dragon, flew freely in the sky, casually spreading frost to strengthen the barrier. This way, the few monsters that entered the city before couldn't receive any reinforcements, so they were quickly killed off by the professionist who arrived. Dragon. It's the legendary dragon race. A dragon is here to help us fight against the monsters. All the professionists cheered. Shan Haichi Xia stood on the street, her heart pounding. So he could turn into such a powerful dragon. No wonder even the three deities weren't a match for him in the age of old, she muttered. Initi Guqing Shan stood in front of the window, holding a manga in his hand. He looked at the manga, then at the gigantic monster in the sky, muttering to himself, "Ah, so I can turn into a dragon? TSK, TSK, TSK. A true dragon seems to be even more ferocious than in the manga. Very well, now I can rest assured and continue my life as a salted fish." Next to his hand on the windowsill were 2 cans of cold beer, as well as a bowl of instant noodles. From a certain point of view, this was another battle. A necessary life as a salted fish for the sake of becoming stronger. Gradually, the black fog stopped emitting clusters of flames. Apparently, the other party also knew that their plan to destroy the city had failed. All of a sudden, a vicious voice resounded from deep within the black fog. "Dragon, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, you will fall into destruction along with this world." Hearing this voice, Guqing Shan was a bit surprised. This is the one who used the power of causality earlier. Strange. Why would it work for the apocalypse? With that in mind, Guqing Shan asked, "Who are you? A coward who doesn't even have a name? You're not worthy to speak to this great one." The black fog went silent for a while. The voice finally resounded again. "I am the ruler of the infinite void worlds, the judge of the fate of living beings. Dragon, you have one last chance to retreat. Otherwise, I will make sure you suffer an eternal and tragic fate." Guqing Shan was shocked. "I've been wondering where exactly I should go to find this monster. So it's the judge of the fate of living beings. This void monster is my absolute target. But why would it appear in the illusion of the apocalypse? This apocalypse was clearly the apocalypse of the previous era." While Guqing Shan was thinking, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face attention. You need to kill 5 types of void monsters in order to unlock this war god's special title, Void War God. The first void monster, judge of the fate of living beings, has appeared. With your power, or rather, the power of all living beings, it is almost impossible to win against the judge of the fate of living beings. Countless years ago, when the Great Tomb first appeared, this monster was heavily wounded by the apocalypse while exploring the Great Tomb, leaving it with only its last breath. This gave birth to a turning point, and now, you've coincidentally met it at the place where it was defeated. This is your only chance to obtain the Void War God title. Chapter 1338. Guqing Shan turned into a black dragon and swam around in the sky. He ignored the monster's call from afar and silently waited. "Are you done?" he asked through inner sight. "Soon, soon. Don't rush me." Initi Guqing Shan answered while slurping the noodles in his mouth. After eating to his heart's content, he grabbed the can and gulped it down. "Such a wonderful taste. It really is worth protecting." Initi Guqing Shan praised. Guqing Shan didn't want to rush him anymore and said, "I'm going to kill that monster. This is very important to me. Please hurry up a bit." Initi Guqing Shan finished his beer in one gulp and wiped his mouth. "All right, you can go now." Saying so, he took out his hollow brain and turned on the holographic screen. The game's music began to play. NET began to adjust the game's secret techniques according to a specific method. Seeing him like this, Guqing Shan was still a bit worried and couldn't help but ask, "Hey, are you sure you could do this?" Sleeping, eating noodles, drinking beer are all necessary tasks. The game is optional. I can stop at any time, NET Guqing Shan replied. From within the black fog, the judge of living beings' fate issued an order. Frowny-faced dragon-eating sea armor Rex. "Your opponent is a dragon. Go. Kill it. Eat it." "Yes, I am very happy." A heavy reply resounded in all directions. Dong, dong, dong. The earth trembled. as if something gigantic was slowly walking out from within the black fog. At the same time, Net Guqing Shan said, "In order for you to do your job without worry, he stretched out a finger and pointed outside the window. A cold sword chi shot out from the window, broke through the void of space, and displayed the chaotic scene outside the world for everyone to see. The sword chi pierced through the sky and went deep into the black fog. Following that, a resounding roar resounded. Rumble, rumble. The ground trembled. Something fell to the ground. The black fog no longer moved. The world returned to silence. When Guqing Shan saw this sword, she finally relaxed and said, "Your sword technique is not bad. Then I'll go." Go ahead," Niti Guqing Shan said. Guqing Shan flew in the direction of the black fog and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. "Look, the giant dragon is going into the black fog. It wants to fight against those monsters. Ha ha, this dragon is really the guardian of our world. The dragon race is really amazing," everyone shouted excitedly. In the castle, Guqing Shan retracted her finger and continued playing her game. "Hey, you don't have anything to do anyway. This game can be switched to a two-player mode. Do you want to play as a two-player?" he asked Shan Hai Chi Xia. "No, under the current circumstances, I'm not in the mood to play around," Shan Hai Chi Xia coldly replied. Just by eating, drinking, sleeping, and playing, he was able to grasp such a powerful swordsmanship. "This world is so unfair," Shan Hai Chi Xia heard her own indignant voice. Where is it unfair?" Initi Guqing Shan stared at the holographic image and casually asked. Shan Hai Chi Xia rolled her eyes, then suddenly said, "This order of yours is really powerful. Can you let it carry me as well?" Initi Guqing Shan appeared a bit troubled, then replied, "About that. I'm afraid it won't like you." Shan Hai Chi Xia went silent. "Why? Is it because I'm not lazy enough?" she asked. "No. Only those with the strongest minds wouldn't go insane after being carried by it. I'm sorry, I really don't like to praise myself, but this is the truth," Neti Guqing Shan replied. Shan Hai Chi Xia scoffed, about to say something, then suddenly shut her mouth. She silently watched Neti Guqing Shan's back. From behind, she could see Neti Guqing Shan sitting there perfectly fine, calmly playing her game. But something doesn't feel right. She suddenly took out the purple bell, lightly held it in her hand, and pointed it at Neti Guqing Shan. Clink, clink. The purple bell shook slightly, gave off a pleasant chime, then returned to silence. A few moments later, clink, clink, clink. The purple bell shook again. A few more moments later, clink, clink, clink. The purple bell shook again. Shan Hai Chi Xia took a few steps back, her expression changing. "What's going on? Why did you die 3 times in just a few moments?" Initi Guqing Shan turned to look at her in surprise. Is this the bell's effect? I can't believe you noticed." At this point, a congratulatory electronic tune resounded from the holographic image. "Wait a moment. I've passed," Initi Guqing Shan said. Saying so, the purple bell in Shan Hai Chi Xia's hand rang again. 4 times. In just a few moments, he had died 4 times. "What exactly is going on?" Shan Hai Chi Xia asked again. "It's nothing. It's just that whenever I complete a salted fish quest, I'll be thrown into another space-time by the order," Initi Guqing Shan replied. "Another space-time?" Shan Hai Chi Xia asked in confusion. "That's right. The order will pick an apocalypse that I can't survive even if I try my best, then throw me into that environment to fight until I die," Initi Guqing Shan replied. Shan Hai Chi Xia froze, then muttered, "So you've always been fighting in the apocalypse?" Initi Guqing Shan replied, "It's nothing much after I die. I'll return to reality." Shan Hai Chi Xia shook her head again and again, saying in disbelief, "So you're not as comfortable as you seem, but rather you're constantly fighting for a chance to enter the apocalypse, then fight until you die. That's normal. Persistent challenges are only the basic requirement to become stronger. In truth, nothing can wait until tomorrow. If you need the power to change something, you'll have to fight with everything you have, every moment of today." In ET, Gu Qin Shan calmly said, then tapped a few times on the holographic image. The music began. A new game had begun. At another location, the black dragon's towering figure rushed into the black fog, instantly turning into an orange cat that flickered in the void of space, then abruptly disappeared. Ascended orange sovereign, ghostly shadow of night, flawless jade. A series of abilities were activated. As soon as the orange cat landed on the ground, he immediately began to fly forward. The intense energy fluctuations that erupted during the battle were so shocking that they couldn't escape his senses at all. Within the black fog, numerous monsters crawled out from their graves and slowly headed towards the city. Destroy everything, the monsters murmured. The orange cat faced these monsters head-on, went straight into them, and quickly ran in the opposite direction. At this point, he couldn't care less about these apocalyptic monsters. He wanted to find the judge of living beings' fate and kill him. The orange cat moved as fast as a shadow, covering a large distance in just a few breaths' worth of time, slowly leaving the monsters behind. All of a sudden, the path ahead became clear. The orange cat passed through the black fog and returned to the desolate wilderness. Monster of the void, why do you work for the apocalypse? The Beast King God's roar echoed endlessly. The orange cat looked around, only to see that the monster covered in sharp spikes was standing on top of a tall grave. It was the judge of living beings' fate. In front of it, the monsters of the great tomb were scattered everywhere. Quite a few of them had already turned into corpses, lying motionlessly on the ground. The Beast King God stood in front of all the monsters, facing off against the judge of living beings' fate. The orange cat lifted his tail and silently moved forward, arriving at the center of the battlefield. He climbed up the grave, silently crouched behind the void monster, and silently waited. As long as there was an opportunity, he would unleash a fatal strike. Chapter 1339. A humanoid monster covered in a gray carapace full of spikes stood on top of the grave, confronting Beast King God's group. Void monster, judge of living beings' fate. The orange cat crouched behind her, not in a hurry to act, and simply listened with interest. After all, one side was a void monster, and the other was someone sealed in the great necropolis. Perhaps he could learn some secrets from their conversation. The Beast King God's eyes flickered, and he said, I know all of you. Back when the great necropolis appeared, I sensed many powerful entities from the outside world, and that was you. It's a pity that you can only see the many rare treasures in the great tomb, but you don't know how dangerous it is. The judge of living beings' fate replied, How could a guy like you, who was sealed in the tomb, know our situation? The Beast King God replied, I'll be frank with you. The main reason why this apocalypse was able to trap us was because of your power. As long as you give up on being enemies with me, I can save you. I can even bring you to find those treasures. The judge of living beings' fate stood still for a while, then shook her head. It's too late. I've been corrupted by this apocalypse for too long. In order to not die completely, I have chosen to become one with this apocalypse. The orange cat opened his gem-like eyes wide and silently sat on top of the grave, falling into thought. So not all void monsters were drifting along the tomb river. A powerful void monster like the judge of living beings' fate was actually able to fuse with the apocalypse and become a part of it. So what is this apocalypse? The apocalypse in front of them was only an illusion, and the judge of living beings' fate was one of the strongest monsters in the void. So how could it be forced into this illusion? Could it be the one who forced it to this point was the true body of the apocalypse? The orange cat's eyes flickered, only to see the Beast King God's body visibly trembling. It seemed to have thought of something as well. I can't believe you actually did this, Beast King God said with a hoarse voice. The judge of living beings' fate lightly stepped forward, her voice filled with killing intent. Your deaths will nourish the apocalypse, and I am the apocalypse on the Beast King God's side. Everyone could not help but take a step back. It couldn't be helped. This monster couldn't be dealt with. Every single one of its attacks was a causality technique that couldn't be dodged or resisted. It could also borrow all of the power of the apocalypse. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Wait a minute. We really do have a way to separate you from this apocalypse. Everyone turned to look. He was one of the Beast King God's subordinates, tall and thin with an air of dignity, most likely one of the big shots of the tomb of myriad beasts. However, after exchanging bodies, his soul had been replaced by the monsters of the great necropolis. The judge of living beings, Fate, seemed to have heard something extremely absurd and laughed maniacally. I'm the invincible king of the void. Other than the four-pillar gods of the void and the eternal abyss, no one else can enter my sight. For the sake of survival, I can only fuse with the apocalypse. It looked at that person fiercely, and a shocking killing intent erupted from its body. And you ants actually dare to say that you're going to save me? We might not be as strong as you, but we were born in the great necropolis. We have our own ways to deal with the apocalypse. The monster was stunned. The Beast King, God, silently applauded, then continued. Indeed, just look at us. Although we were sealed in the great necropolis by the apocalypse, we still managed to escape with our lives through soul swap. The Beast King, God, spread his arms wide. Come, join us and listen to my orders. I will help you escape from the apocalypse. Enough. The judge of living beings, Fate, uttered a resounding roar, cutting off the Beast King God's words. It suddenly grinned eerily. I've fused myself with the apocalypse and stayed in this great necropolis for over 1,000 years. Do you really think I don't know what kind of things you are? It moved forward step by step, while the Beast King God's group retreated step by step. We are the Beast King God, and the deities who are sealed by the apocalypse. We can fight against the apocalypse, and we can even save you. The Beast King God loudly shouted. The judge of living beings, Fate, shook its head. No. It is the Samsara delimitation divine artifact that can fight against the apocalypse. That sword. As for you, its tone suddenly became full of mockery. The guardians of the ancient tomb forest. During the endless darkness of the apocalypse, you betrayed your duty and your promise, stole a few inheritances from within the tomb forest. The only thing you dared to do was swap bodies with mortals. And yet you still dared to call yourselves deities. If we void lords were grave robbers, then you would be the oath breakers who stole what you were guarding. The judge of living beings, Fate, spat out 4 words. A bunch of trash. At this point, there was no longer any room for negotiation. The Beast King God angrily shouted, attack. In the blink of an eye, all of his subordinates unleashed their spells. But right before the Beast King God gave his order, the lanky man had already attacked first. Both of his hands were cut open by sharp air blades, each of them bleeding. He abruptly crouched down, pressed both hands on the ground, and shouted, swap. Boom! Dust and dirt rose, then was blown away by the intense wind. The area where the Beast King God's group was standing had become illusory. It was as if another world had descended upon that area. The judge of living beings, Fate, was about to act, but stopped as it saw this and smirked. An Azura era of war technique? How interesting. It silently watched on. Within that illusory scene, an overwhelming number of soldiers had surrounded the Beast King God's group. These soldiers' presence and power weren't much weaker than the Beast King God's group. But strangely, the majority of these soldiers seemed to be beauties. A few of the men looked ferocious, but their presence was almost on par with the Beast King God's group. At this point, the lanky man's appearance slowly changed, turning into Gu Qing Shan. Another Gu Qing Shan. Everyone attack, he abruptly shouted. Yes, your majesty. All the Azuras responded in unison. Instantly, the Beast King God's group was surrounded by countless Azuras. The Beast King God's expression turned grim and shouted, no, you Azuras, I actually have your inheritance. We are your ancestors. The inheritance belongs to the Great Tomb, not you. Furthermore, someone who doesn't dare to fight doesn't count as an Azura. Let's talk after we've fought, the other Gu Qing Shan replied. Oh, the illusory scene abruptly faded. Everything disappeared without a trace. The graveyard returned to silence. All the Azuras, the Beast King God's group, as well as that Gu Qing Shan were no longer here. Only the judge of living beings, Fate, remained, standing alone in the graveyard. The orange cat silently crouched on top of the grave, staring at it. The judge of living beings, fate muttered, "Once this technique ends, that Azura king will return. He isn't a guardian of the ancient graveyard, so why did he suddenly attack us? Very well, I'll wait for him." The judge of living beings, fate, stood still and silently waited. A few moments later, a series of images silently appeared. The Azura king Gu Qingshan appeared from the void of space and landed on the ground. He waved to the judge of living beings, fate. "Hey, we meet again." The judge of living beings, fate, stared at him and muttered in a low voice, "Come, the laws of the infinite world's recognition and living beings' reverence. Heed my call and gather in the void of space. Let me see the proof of your recognition." A cluster of white fog descended from above, landed on his body, and slowly disappeared into his body. The judge of living beings, fate, closed its eyes for a few moments, then muttered, "So you are the deity of chaos, the lord of chaos and war, the avatar, the Azura king, the lone wolf of death, the god of slaughter, the savior of the world, the one sheltered by the heroic spirits of the inner plane. Gu Qingshan, that is me, the Azura king." Gu Qingshan nodded. "These tomb guardians are people that I must kill no matter what. I'm very sorry for dragging you into this. I hope you don't mind," the judge of living beings, fate, replied. "I don't mind at all. In truth, I'm the incarnation of the apocalypse, and since you are within the apocalypse, I must kill you no matter what. I hope you won't mind." The Azura king Gu Qingshan looked at him and casually drew a sword from the void of space. "I'm wondering," he lowered his head and pondered, "why haven't you acted yet?" The judge of living beings, fate, smirked. "Are you that eager to die?" "Of course not. I'm only offering a suggestion. After all, we don't have too much time to waste on this monster," the Azura king Gu Qingshan replied. At the very next moment, an orange cat appeared behind the judge of living beings, fate. He jumped onto the other party's shoulder. A faint golden glow overlapped with a bright silver glow, manifesting as the faint image of a coin that entered the judge of living beings, fate's body through the cat's paw. Chapter 1340. Earth's Prohibition. Any target you strike will have all of their supernatural powers sealed away for 1 minute. As soon as the orange cat performed this technique, he had turned back into Gu Qingshan. He raised his metal gauntlet and struck the monster with all his might. Frost Fist Technique. Freezing frost. Ice and snow quickly crawled all over the monster's body at a visible speed, finally turning into a large transparent block of ice. The judge of living beings, fate, stood frozen like an insect in amber. It struggled with all its might. Dong! Gu Qingshan's fist struck the ice. Ethereal. Grand Mountain? The judge of living beings, fate, couldn't move anymore. Within 10 breaths worth of time, it would lose all of its thoughts. Azura Gu Qingshan crossed her arms and stood on one side. This guy's supernatural abilities, mobility, and even his thoughts have all been suppressed by you. But why do I feel like you're still a bit nervous? Gu Qingshan took a deep breath and replied, "I can't use my sword, so of course I'm a bit nervous." Azura Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then drew a sword and asked, "Do you want me to act?" "No need saying so." Gu Qingshan's body began to glow in a faint yellow light. Samsara, origin power. He casually threw a punch at the ice crystal. Ethereal, unpardonable. This was a fist technique that could destroy everything. Tangible and intangible, illusory and real, all living beings and all things, under this single punch, collapsed and returned to primal chaos. The entire ice crystal turned into specks of illusory light, like fireflies in the night sky, slowly disappearing into the darkness. Inside the ice crystal, the judge of living beings, fate, stared straight ahead. Its eyes were filled with confusion, but it seemed to have noticed the arrival of death. But it couldn't help it. The Earth God's power had taken away all of its chances to retaliate. It turned into nothingness, returned to primal chaos, never to be heard from again. What a marvelous fist technique! I didn't think I would be able to grasp a power other than swordsmanship, Azura Gu Qingshan commented. Your soul hasn't been released? Gu Qingshan asked. Released? What's that? Azura Gu Qingshan asked. Wait a moment. As Gu Shan spoke, she turned her gaze to the void and looked at the lines of glowing text that quickly appeared. You killed the judge of living beings' fate. Description: this is an impossible feat, but because the target's power was only 0.5% of its peak, and you used the power of the Earth God to seal away all of its supernatural powers, making it unable to use any defensive techniques, you were able to accomplish this kill. As mentioned before, it was killed by you without putting up any defenses. As a result, your consumption of soul force for activating ethereal was minimized. You've spent 100 million soul points. Confused, Gu Shan asked, I'm using the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Why is it related to soul power? The war god UI replied. That power came from the conversion of soul points. Surely you didn't think that the samsara power appeared out of nowhere for you to use, did you? Gu Shan's mind spun, and she asked, if I want to release the last 2 styles of ethereal, can I also use soul power conversion? You can, but the soul point consumption is considerable. You must mentally prepare yourself. The war god UI replied. New lines of glowing text popped up. Frowny face, you've killed the judge of living beings' fate, obtaining 300 million soul points. The path of Void War God has entered the next stage. You must find a second Void monster, matriarch of myriad Earths. Attention! This is the ruler of the Void monsters, the mortal enemy of the Earth God of the Void. If it hadn't entered this great tomb, it would still be in the space vortex, waging an endless war against the Earth God. Eliminated. All the glowing text flashed and disappeared in front of Gu Shan's eyes. Gu Shan sighed. Both the judge of living beings' fate and the matriarch of myriad Earths are ridiculously powerful monsters. The only thing they did wrong was to enter this tomb. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for me to kill them with my current strength. Then, I need to kill 5 of these monsters to obtain the War God title. What kind of power would it have? Void War God. This title really made people curious. He slowly regained his senses and looked at the Azura King, Gu Shan. She was still waiting for him, so he smiled understandingly and asked, You're looking at the results of the Order S battle? Yes, Gu Shan replied. He thought for a bit, then told her about the release of his soul. The Azura King, Gu Shan, fell into thought and muttered, The call of the Bramblebirds? I've heard of that before. That girl called Lola is still the Bramblebird Empress, but she's now a puppet empress. Gu Shan scowled and asked, Whose puppet is she? Trieste seems to have taken control of the Empress. She's currently the Bramblebird Empress. The Azura King, Gu Shan replied. Gu Shan doubtfully asked, Why didn't you participate in the call of the Bramblebirds? Because Ji Luo is dead. The Azura King, Gu Shan replied. What? Gu Shan exclaimed in shock. The Azura King, Gu Shan's gaze became a bit gloomy as she replied. She was a female Azura. After the Battle of Huang Quan, she found the body of a human female who died in the calamity, possessed it and revived. She followed me to conquer billions of worlds. During one of those battles, to protect me, she took a hit herself. Gu Shan immediately asked, What happened to her soul? Her soul was also heavily wounded. The only way to save her is to have her enter the Forgetting River. The Forgetting River will heal all wounds on the soul, but the price is to forget everything. The Azura King, Gu Shan replied. Forget everything, which means she won't remember Gu Shan anymore. Gu Shan's mind turned and asked, So she reincarnated? That's right. I asked the Forgetting River soul separating hook for help. So she should be reincarnated into the Azura realm. Even so, she wouldn't recognize you, Gu Shan replied. The Azura King, Gu Shan continued. That's why I carried chaos and entered the Azura realm, slowly ascending step by step until I became the king of several Azura realm fragments. Why did you do that? Gu Shan asked. In order to become the Azura deific king, legend has it that the Azura deific king has a unique thaumaturgy that allows him to awaken the memories of an Azura's past life, allowing them to awaken all of their wisdom from their previous lives. No wonder you chose to enter the Azura realm. So it was for this reason, Gu Shan sighed. At this point, He couldn't help but feel the vastness of fate. At every turning point in history, people would make all sorts of decisions, from which their fates would form completely different paths. Gu Shan clenched his fist. "I have a favor to ask of you," he said. "What is it?" the Azura King Gu Shan asked. "To save Lola," Gu Shan said. The Azura King Gu Shan looked at him for a while before speaking. "The Bramblebird Kingdom is currently the Demon King Order's base. Although I'm the Azura King, it would still be a bit difficult for me to deal with the entire Demon King Order," Gu Shan firmly told him. "You have to save her because she is related to a lot of important matters like the Bramble Bird Tree, the 3 Coins of Time, and even the Dusty World. Not to mention, the Demon King Order itself is also a type of chaos." Why haven't I heard of any of this before?" the Azura King Gu Shan asked. Gu Shan then explained everything to him. "You care about that little girl a lot?" the Azura King Gu Shan asked. "I do. Her fate is very tragic. I don't want her to go through that kind of life, even if it's in a parallel world," Gu Shan replied. The Azura King Gu Shan hesitated. "A war? I'm afraid I'll have to use all of my power," Gu Shan replied. "This matter has nothing to do with her being the Empress, the Master of Wealth, or the Envoy of the Bramblebird Tree. Even if she doesn't have any of these identities and is only a normal girl, we still have to save her. Why?" the Azura King Gu Shan asked. Gu Shan replied, "If one day all the apocalypses are over and you and I can live a normal life and have a daughter, she would probably be like her. For the sake of your daughter's smile, you would be willing to put in a lot of effort, even if it means fighting and killing, wouldn't you?" The Azura King Gu Shan went silent. A few moments later, he took out something and gave it to Gu Shan. It was the 9 Serenity Talisman Jade Tablet. "Hold it for me for now. This item's range is the entire Great Tomb. Return it to me when I return," the Azura King Gu Shan said. Gu Shan received the Jade Tablet and spoke deeply. "Thank you. No need. I'm not saving her because of you, but because I know about this," the Azura King Gu Shan replied. "Very well. Go ahead. Leave this place to me." The two Gu Shans nodded and smiled at each other. The Azura King Gu Shan turned around and walked into the darkness of nothingness. "War is where my sword is, a war that must be carried out in order to protect." As he spoke in a low voice, his figure gradually turned into a shadow and disappeared from this world. He had left to save the other Lola's life. Gu Shan put the Jade Tablet away. He was now the only one left, standing alone in the middle of a barren graveyard. The densely packed monsters broke free from the tombs and gradually surrounded him. Gu Shan clenched his metal gauntlets and looked at the monsters around him. "Ah, there's quite a lot of them. I remember there's a fist technique that descends from the sky." His figure moved, and he flew up into the sky. At another location, above the River of Time, a constantly drifting temporal oasis, the world of the Spire, Lola was sitting in her room, silently holding a long purple rope, the twine of Cloud Atlas. She had another twine of Cloud Atlas in her hand. Perhaps this was the other half of the same twine of Cloud Atlas. A voice came from the twine of Cloud Atlas, bypassing the restraints of space and time. "You must save her, regardless of the fact that she is the Empress, the Master of Wealth, the Envoy of the Great Bramble Tree. Even if she didn't have any of these identities and was only a normal girl, we must still save her. If one day all the apocalypses are over, you and I will live a normal life and have a daughter. She would probably be like that. For the sake of your daughter's smile, you would be willing to put in a lot of effort, even if it means fighting and killing, wouldn't you?" Gu Shan's sincere voice resounded from the twine of Cloud Atlas. Lola listened quietly. In the end, she lowered her head and wiped away her tears. "Gu Shan, she whimpered. Chapter 1341. Gu Shan was flying through the darkness of the night. His speed was so fast that in just a dozen breaths worth of time, he had already reached the sky above the capital city. The entire capital city had been surrounded by countless monsters, the capital city's army had already lost and could only retreat to the city walls. The professionists were loudly shouting, but couldn't change the tide of the battle. The monsters' bodies were covered in flowing lava. The flames on their bodies rose to the sky, illuminating the entire city in a crimson glow. They had begun their siege. Boom! Several parts of the city walls couldn't withstand the flaming monsters' attacks and directly collapsed. Kill them. We can't let them enter the city. A commander roared. The professionists loudly responded, unleashing their most powerful attacks to fight against the monsters. Unfortunately, the monsters' bodies were made from sharp and sturdy bones, protected by layers upon layers of elemental fire, so both physical and magical attacks could only deal limited damage to them. Gu Qingshan's inner sight quickly scanned around, focusing on the medical room where he was resting, only to see Shan Hai Chi Xia guarding the door, not allowing anyone to approach. Net Gu Qingshan was hiding in a corner of the room, sitting cross-legged. In front of him was a sword. Following Net Gu Qingshan's control, this sword continuously unleashed sharp sword chi, flying out of the window and attacking the city surroundings. The sword chi shot out like lightning, and wherever it passed, the monsters were sent flying into the air. Then, another sword chi chased after the monster and cut it into ashes. Gu Qingshan pondered for a bit, then quickly understood. Net Gu Qingshan's identity was a military officer. According to the rules, he couldn't do anything that didn't match his identity in front of the people of this world. He couldn't explain why a civilian officer like himself would have such powerful swordsmanship. Because of that, he could only hide in the room, where no one could see him, and use his sword chi to kill the monsters. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed, disappeared from the sky, and directly reappeared in the room. "How's the battle going?" he asked. "Not good. Unless we completely destroy these monsters' bodies, their remains will quickly fuse together to form even more powerful monsters," Net Gu Qingshan replied. Gu Qingshan looked out of the window. On the street outside, a team of knights rushed forward and worked together to kill the two monsters. The remains of the two monsters fused together and turned into a flame monster that was 7 to 8 meters tall. This monster was even stronger. All die. The giant flame monster charged towards the knights. Buzz! The sword chi flew over and struck the monster's body, completely wiping him out. The knights cheered and looked at the window. "Which lord did it? Please meet us." The leader of the knights said loudly. The room fell silent. The two Gu Qingshan exchanged glances, then turned to Shan Hai Chi Xia. Shan Hai Chi Xia understood what they were trying to say, then replied, "That won't do. My identity is that of a wizard. If I say that it was me who unleashed that sharp phantom, it wouldn't match my identity." Salted Fish Gu Qingshan frowned and said, "I'm a civilian officer. My identity doesn't allow me to have such power." Only Gu Qingshan was left. He slowly walked to the window and looked at the knights. "Quick, go to the city walls and provide support," he casually ordered them. The knights were all surprised. At this point, Gu Qingshan appeared in front of the knights with his original appearance. The royal guard Li Qiushan that he was playing had already died in battle when he was ordered to infiltrate the Black Fog. This was something that the knight who managed to escape said himself. So many people heard it at the time. Since Gu Qingshan appeared in this world with his true appearance, no one would recognize him. In other words, he was currently a person without an identity. "May I ask who you are?" the leader of the knights asked. Following his question, lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god, UI, frowny face warning. "Please obtain an identity recognized by the world as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will be thrown into the center of the apocalypse. That place is the connection between the illusory apocalypse and the real apocalypse. Once you enter it, it will be difficult for you to survive. I repeat, please obtain an identity recognized by the living beings of this world as soon as possible." After glancing through everything, Gu Qingshan told everyone, "It's time for you to know my true identity." He flew out from the window, his figure flashed, and was already in the air. At the very next moment, a gigantic black dragon suddenly appeared. "It's a dragon." A dragon. He's that dragon. My God, it's our guardian deity. The knights excitedly shouted. A line of glowing text also appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, you've used your dragon body to fight against the monsters, witnessed by everyone and deeply remembered. Your identity has been recognized. Now, you are the guardian deity of the capital city, the Black Dragon. The Black Dragon flew high up in the night sky, its eyes twitching. It began to dive. The Black Dragon was gliding around the city walls at an unimaginable speed. It was like a black curtain that quickly swept over the heads of all the flaming monsters, spreading the chilling frost on them. The crimson glow in the night sky slowly faded away. Groups of monsters were frozen in place, turning into glittering statues of ice. Outside the capital city, it had turned into a deathly, silent world of frost. Dragon. It's a dragon. It froze those monsters. On top of the city wall, the professionists cheered. At the same time, the Black Dragon's gaze became focused. The flaming monsters that had infiltrated the city were no longer slaughtering and destroying. Instead, they had gathered together and slowly fused into one. In the blink of an eye, the lava had taken shape and quickly turned into a crimson dragon. Drops of lava dripped from its body onto the ground, burning through the ground. Dong, 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 dong. This dragon took a few steps forward, then abruptly flew into the night sky. It was heading straight for the Black Dragon. Roar! The red dragon opened its mouth and spat out a mass of flames that was several times larger than its body. This scene had completely surpassed common sense, becoming a scene of apocalypse that no one could ever erase from their minds. This mass of flames was as large as the entire capital city. Even the Black Dragon's gigantic body could only be devoured by this boundless flame. Shan Haiqixia couldn't help but shout, "Watch out!" At the very next moment, everyone felt their vision blurring. The Crimson Dragon and the Black Dragon abruptly switched places. Struck by its own flames, the Crimson Dragon broke through the sky and fell into the black fog. A few moments later, its furious roar resounded from deep within the darkness. The boundless flames burned through the black fog, revealing the faraway wilderness and graveyard for everyone to see. Gu Qingshan turned back into human form in the sky, staring at the wilderness with a heavy expression. The Crimson Dragon was coiled up on top of the graveyard, coldly staring at Gu Qingshan. In the wilderness around it, monsters were slowly piling up one after another, manifesting as dragons. They covered the entire land. This time, it wasn't just the Crimson Dragon. The bodies of these dragon-shaped monsters were respectively covered in frost, poisonous fog, lightning, wind. The cheers of the crowd seemed to have been cut off, abruptly turning silent. There were so many dragon-shaped monsters, almost too many to count. Even a legendary dragon race didn't have such a large number. But there was only a single black dragon. So this is an unsolvable apocalypse? Gu Qingshan muttered. In his heart, however, he was thinking about something else. In this illusion, as long as he survived until the very last moment, he would be able to return. However, this was only an illusion. Above this illusion, there was the real apocalypse. Even the judge of living beings' fate lost to this real apocalypse. Who could win against such an apocalypse? Chapter 1342. Gu Qingshan stood in the air, looking at the dragon-shaped monsters made of bones and various natural elements. A voice suddenly resounded in her ears. Hey, it was Net Gu Qingshan. What is it? Gu Qingshan asked. Do you want me to help you? Net Gu Qingshan asked. What a joke. What are you going to do with your identity? Gu Qingshan asked. You've already demonstrated it. If that doesn't work, how about I pretend to have died in battle and get my identity back? Net Gu Qingshan asked. You can also turn into a dragon? Gu Qingshan asked. I can turn into a dragon that absorbs elements and laws, Net Gu Qingshan replied. I've never heard of that before. What kind of dragon is that? Gu Qingshan asked. I can absorb all elements. This way, the elemental laws will become weaker, The power of the apocalyptic monsters will be greatly reduced, Net Gu Qing Shan replied. Won't you have any issues absorbing so many elements? Gu Qing Shan asked. I might get bloated, but there won't be any issues. It'll just be my belly getting a bit thicker. I'll be fine after a few days of being a salted fish, Net Gu Qing Shan replied. I never thought I'd be able to turn into this whatever dragon, Gu Qing Shan blankly muttered. I also never thought I'd be able to turn into a black dragon. To be honest, if you want me to trigger such an ability, you'll have to help me, Net Gu Qing Shan replied. How do I help? Gu Qing Shan asked. Take control of the monsters and make sure they don't move. That way, I'll be able to absorb their elemental power, Net Gu Qing Shan replied. At this point, a series of earth-shattering roars resounded from afar. Gu Qing Shan looked towards the wilderness. Various elements manifested into the shape of dragons that took flight. They were heading straight for the capital city. In truth, there were only just one elemental WYRM was enough to destroy Monarch City. With so many elemental WYRMs attacking, it wouldn't be long before the entire royal city was destroyed. I don't have enough information right now. I'll go fight and see. As soon as Gu Qing Shan finished speaking, she transformed into a black dragon and flew toward the wilderness, disregarding the exclamations of the city guards below. He was extremely fast and far faster than ordinary dragons. Soon, he encountered the first elemental WYRM. The dragon opened its claws and flashed. The cold air cut through the giant dragon that was covered in poisonous mist. Boom! This dragon fell straight down and hit the ground. It turned into countless green mists and attached to the body of the other elemental WYRM. The elemental WYRM instantly doubled in size. Gu Qing Shan's heart jumped. Frost could restrain fire, so it could restrain fire monsters. But now it was very difficult to kill a giant dragon formed from various elements in one go. If they were not killed in one hit, they would fuse with each other and become even more powerful monsters. While Gu Qing Shan was thinking, the giant dragons glowing with elemental light rose to the sky and surrounded him. Die! The elemental WYRMs sent a signal for him to die. The black dragon suddenly disappeared from the encirclement. The elemental WYRMs didn't understand what happened, but when they turned around, they found that the black dragon had already returned to the sky above the capital city. He turned back into that man, stood in the sky, and spoke. No, they're not easy to kill. They'll be even more powerful after they fuse. Net Gu Qing Shan witnessed the entire process and said, if you can help me break them apart, leave the rest to me. Break them apart. Gu Qing Shan's mind moved quickly as she tried to think of a way to deal with this. At this point, the elemental WYRMs were getting closer and closer to Monarch City. The leading Crimson Flame Dragon opened its mouth and spat out 2 balls of flames towards Gu Qing Shan. Gu Qing Shan swung her fist without hesitation. Frost Fist. Bam! The first ball of flames completely disappeared in the sky. The intense frost aura turned into a shockwave that shot towards the other dragons in the sky. As Gu Qing Shan had the power of 3 dragons, she was naturally much stronger than normal dragons. This punch of his caused the Crimson Flame Dragon to be cautious. At this point, the second ball of flames had already reached Gu Qing Shan. Sha! A sword gleam flashed. Shanu wielded the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword and sliced the ball of flames into nothingness. Gongzi can't use a sword, but I can, she muttered. The Crimson Flame Dragon looked at Shanu, then at the sword in her hand, and muttered. The Lawbreaker sword, so it had such a trump card it abruptly stopped flying and began chanting in the sky. O Apocalypse, please fuse with me. Grant me power that far surpasses this world. Ung. At the end of the horizon, something responded to its call. Behind it, the other elemental WYRMs turned back into pure elemental particles and began to circle around it. They fused into the flame dragon's body one by one. Boom! As the flame dragon landed on the ground, its body began to change. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, dark sound, even poison, plague, death, withering void, all sorts of laws began to converge on its body. Its body was changing. What is that? My God! Even a dragon isn't a match for such a monster. It's over. The world is done for. The professionist defending the city fell into despair. It wasn't just them. Even Gu Shan couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Is this really just an illusion? He muttered. A few hundred meters away from the city wall, a giant was slowly standing up. The radiance of various elements revolved around it, forming a violent hurricane around it. Wherever the tornado went, everything was destroyed. The earth was dried up, all things died. This was the power of the elemental tide. While the giant stood there without moving, everything around it was rapidly becoming barren. Destruction is the fate of this world. The elemental giant looked up at Gu Shan in the sky and spoke in a low voice. Even if you have power that surpasses a normal dragon, you are still a servant of fate. Come, surrender to the fate of death. It began to walk towards the capital city. Gu Shan's mind flashed like lightning. Quickly going through all the fist techniques he's learned his mind wants. Nothing other than ethereal. There are no fist techniques that could deal with the current situation. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god UI, frowny face, to kill this giant formed from hundreds of thousands of elemental dragons. Ethereal. No pardon requires at least 500 million soul points. You don't have enough soul points. Then what about ethereal? Null tribulation? Gu Shan asked. Even no pardon isn't enough, let alone null tribulation. The war god UI replied. Gu Shan sighed and muttered, It took me so much effort to earn some soul points. Seems like this is the only way. He assumed a stance in the air and hit his right fist behind his back. Taking a deep breath, he abruptly threw a punch at the elemental giant. Ethereal, Grand Mountain. The elemental giant paused unnoticeably, then continued to stride towards Gu Shan. Do you think I have something like thoughts? The elemental giant mocked and showed a contemptuous expression. I am the manifestation of the apocalypse. My will is to bring everything to an eternal end. Other than that, I have no other thoughts. Boom. The sturdy city wall was nothing more than tofu in front of it, easily flattened with a single stomp. It reached its hand out to grab Gu Shan. Now, Gu Shan shouted. You go first. I'm waiting for that moment. Net Gu Shan's voice followed. Gu Shan no longer hesitated and threw another punch. Ethereal, the third strike, myriad shadows. Ethereal, myriad shadows. After you punch an enemy, you can activate myriad shadows, 10,000 shadows. It's an endless series of tens of thousands of punches. Each punch only contains a 10,000th of your strength. But if you don't tell them to stop, the 10,000 shadows will continue. Your enemy can only be beaten, and your opponent can't change this state. Eternal striking fist. In that split second, Gu Shan's fist became blurry, then suddenly turned into millions of punches that struck the elemental giant's body. The elemental giant stood still without moving. The overwhelming number of punches drowned it, each one landing solidly on its body. You think you can defeat me with punches like that? The elemental giant smirked. The body formed from hundreds of thousands of elemental dragons had already surpassed the normal definition of power, so it didn't receive any damage at all. Who said I wanted to defeat you with this punch? Gu Shan replied while throwing her punches. At the same time, inside the capital, a certain castle's infirmary. Net Gu Shan clasped her hands together, formed a hand seal, and shouted, Elemental and Law Absorption Dragon, transform. With a light poof, Gu Shan's entire body disappeared from the room. Instead, a dried-up salted fish appeared in front of Shan Haichi-xia. This fish was only about half an arm's length and was completely dehydrated. Ah, Shan Haichi-xia pinched her nose, silently muttering in her mind. Elemental and Law Absorption Dragon? That sounds so nice, but this appearance, this stench, it's clearly a salted fish. At the very next moment, bits of elemental energy appeared from the void of space, all of which were absorbed into the fish's body. As time passed, The scales on the salted fish's body slowly regained their luster. Chapter 1343. World Apocalypse Online. Leave request currently typing. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1344. Punches flashed. Hundreds of thousands of punches rained down on the elemental giant's body, giving off a rapid sound of impact. The elemental giant stood amidst the countless punches, unable to move at all. The giant sensed it for a few moments, then mocked. With punches of this level, even if you hit me for another 100 million years, you still wouldn't be able to harm me. Each of his punches only contained 1/10,000th of Gu Qingshan's power, while the elemental giant was a monster formed from several hundred elemental dragons, so it wouldn't be able to be injured by such punches. Gu Qingshan didn't say a single word and simply continued to throw punches. Each of myriad shadows. Punches contained the essence of countless fist techniques. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but immerse himself within, carefully experiencing the mysteries of the fist techniques. The elemental giant glanced at him, seeing that he was only focused on throwing punches without paying any attention to its mocking. It couldn't help but feel furious. It couldn't help but speak again. "You're wasting your strength, you." Its voice was abruptly cut off. The elemental giant's expression changed as it looked down at its own body. A cluster of crimson light flew out from its chest, turned into sprites of light, and disappeared into the void of space. Another cluster of emerald light flew out from its arm, also disappearing into the void of space. Following that, colorful elemental particles flew out from its body, disappearing into the void of space one after another, disappearing without a trace. "Who exactly are you? I'm going to kill you." The elemental giant angrily roared. It struggled with all its might, wanting to find the one who absorbed its elemental power. But the punches were like a tidal wave that completely drowned it, making it unable to move even a single inch. At another location, inside the medical ward, the salted fish's body was giving off an increasingly thick stench of blood. "Oh, why does it smell so bad?" Shan Haiqi Xia pinched her nose and complained. Iti Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared from the void of space, holding the salted fish in her hand, and said, "This is a food-type salted fish. The smellier it is, the more nutrients it contains. A great tonic." Shan Haiqi Xia was surprised. "Ah, didn't you turn into this salted fish? Where are you?" Iti Gu Qingshan paused for a moment before explaining awkwardly. "There's one thing I didn't account for. The elemental giant's power was far beyond my imagination, and I would have exploded if I went straight for it. That's why I had no choice but to go for the second mode, ingredient elemental and rule absorption dragon. The first mode was to transform into an elemental and nomological absorption dragon, salted fish, which could directly absorb energy. In the second mode, when the power needed to be absorbed was too great and could not be absorbed in one go, it would no longer transform into an elemental and law absorption dragon, salted fish. Instead, it would materialize this ability into a pickled food that could be used at any time. Iti Gu Qingshan raised a piece of fish and offered it to Shan Haiqi Xia, asking, "Hey, do you want to eat one? This is the essence of the power of order. If you eat it, you might even awaken a special ability. Every time I die, I just need to eat a bite of this salted fish, and I can be reborn and recover all my strength." Shan Haiqi Xia hurriedly retreated and waved her hand. "No, I don't expect to gain power this way at all." Suddenly, another shriveled, salted fish appeared in the void. It fell between the two of them, visibly becoming more substantial and flavorful. "Oh, it's already forming a second one? That monster's power is truly terrifying." Iti Gu Qingshan sighed emotionally. Shan Haiqi Xia looked at the salted fish in his hand, then at the one on the ground, asking in surprise, "This is the power you absorbed from that giant?" "That's right," Iti Gu Qingshan continued. "In fact, normally it would be very difficult to make a complete salted fish, But now, it's all thanks to this elemental monster. He held the salted fish in his hand and began to chew on it. The fishy and salty smell slowly permeated the air. Shan Hai-Chi Xia couldn't take it anymore and said, "I'll be going out for a bit." She turned around and ran out of the room. Initi Gu Qing Shan froze, then muttered after a long while, "Such a good way to become stronger. You actually gave up on it?" Pop! The void of space shifted. Another salted fish fell to the ground. A third one. Initi Gu Qing Shan's eyebrows twitched, then hurriedly finished off the salted fish in his hand. "Ah, how refreshing. The power I used up from dying a few times before has all been replenished." He picked up the second salted fish and began to chew on it. While eating, he suddenly drew his sword from the void of space and casually swung it. Sha! A faint sword phantom infused with a faint black glow shot forward and struck the wall. The entire wall quickly turned black, thoroughly corroded, and turned into dust. "Ah, so I've awakened a new ability. What an unexpected surprise," Initi Gu Qing Shan joyfully said. He lowered his head and continued to chew on the second salted fish. "Oh, I ate too much today, but this is also a rare opportunity." Initi Gu Qing Shan bent down to pick up the third salted fish. Pop! The void of space shifted. Another salted fish fell to the ground. A fourth. Initi Gu Qing Shan appeared troubled and muttered, "This monster's elemental power is too shocking. It's fortunate that I avoided the first mode, otherwise I would have already exploded." He picked up the two salted fish on the ground and put them into his mouth. At this point, a pop was heard. A fifth salted fish appeared. And then, pop, 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 3 salted fish appeared at once. As these salted fish fell to the ground, their shriveled bodies slowly regained some flesh. The fishy and salty smell became stronger. Initi Gu Qing Shan looked at the salted fish in his hand, then at the fish on the ground, muttering, "Ah, not good." In the night sky, tens of thousands of punches flew without stopping. Gu Qing Shan was attacking the elemental giant with all his might. "All right, hit hard. Guardian Dragon God, sir, do your best. We will win." The people of the capital city loudly cheered Gu Qing Shan on. Gu Qing Shan heard them, but didn't have time to care about them. He couldn't stop. As long as he stopped, myriad shadows would be interrupted and the elemental giant would regain its freedom. "Hey!" All of a sudden, Initi Gu Qing Shan's voice resounded. "What is it?" Gu Qing Shan asked. "I ran into a bit of a problem here," Initi Gu Qing Shan said. Gu Qing Shan's heart tightened and asked, "What is it? Hurry up and tell me." Initi Gu Qing Shan quickly explained, "This elemental giant contains too much power. I've manifested it as a food-type elemental and law absorption dragon, but I can't eat it anymore. You need to find someone to help me eat it. In truth, this ingredient is very precious. There's even a chance to awaken my power," Gu Qing Shan replied. "There are so many professionists in this world. Can't you just ask them to eat it?" Initi Gu Qing Shan resolutely replied, "They can't. The difference in power is too great. They'll directly explode. Not to mention, they won't easily eat a stranger's salted fish." Gu Qing Shan asked, "Isn't there still Shan Hai-Chi Xia?" "She ran away," Initi Gu Qing Shan replied. Gu Qing Shan thought for a second, then shouted, "Shanu!" The void of space shifted. A cold and elegant woman appeared behind Gu Qing Shan. "I'm here, Gongzi," she replied. "Go help the other me eat the food ingredient that contains the elemental giant's power. This is very crucial. It'll directly determine whether or not we'll be able to leave this place alive," Gu Qing Shan said. Seeing how serious he was, Shannon nodded. "Don't worry, Gongzi. I'll definitely do my best." Her figure flashed and flew toward a certain place in the city. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. "Gongzi!" Shanu suddenly appeared behind him, sobbing as she shouted. Gu Qing Shan was shocked and almost didn't use his fist. "What is it? What's the situation?" he hurriedly asked in his mind. Shanu wiped her tears. "That fish is too smelly. I can't eat it." Gu Qing Shan, Initi Gu Qing Shan's voice came again. "Hurry, I can't eat anymore. If I don't eat these salty, the dragon of absorption of laws and elements within a certain amount of time, they will return to the elemental giant's body. Gu Shan felt tense. If this continues, wouldn't this battle be over? Shanu, he called out again. Shanu spoke with a sorrowful expression. Gongzi, I really don't want to eat those salted fish, Gu Shan replied. No, I'm not telling you to eat the fish. You're going to fight this elemental giant for me. Shanu froze. A dozen breaths later, the medical ward. An orange cat was holding a salted fish in his hand, quickly chewing on it. Orange sovereign transformation. Mutated. When you use this thaumaturgy, you will transform into the orange sovereign and obtain the following abilities. Power absorption. You will no longer absorb origin power of the soul from the void of space, but through eating and devouring, the origin power of the soul you obtain will be doubled. Chapter 1345. Slow down a bit. Meow. There's another one over here. Come meow, meow. In the medical room, the orange cat was busy eating fish. Complete fish bones were thrown behind it by its claws. He was happily eating them. 6, 7, 8, 9. Even though it's natural for a cat to eat fish, your stomach is like a bottomless pit. Net Gu Shan sighed emotionally. The orange cat wiped his mouth and said, meow, 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 meow. Net Gu Shan was surprised. So you can turn into a cat and convert energy into soul points? That's quite impressive. He scanned the outside with his inner sight, only to see a cold and elegant palace made unleashing thousands of punches to the point where the elemental giant couldn't retaliate at all and could only let himself be sucked dry. Net Gu Shan regained her senses and turned her gaze to the orange cat. He suddenly clapped his hands. I can manifest energy for monsters. You can infinitely absorb energy and convert it into soul points. The orange cat also stopped and glanced at the UI in the void of space. Lines of glowing text appeared one after another. Frowny face. Through eating, you've obtained 70,000 soul points. Through eating, you've obtained 190,000 soul points. The orange cat displayed a contemplative expression. Net, together with the orange cat, a cat and a fish. This way of eating, no, fighting is a perfect match. Net Gu Shan and the orange cat exchanged glances and nodded. Very well, then we can definitely make a big commotion, Net Gu Shan excitedly said. Meow. The orange cat also called out in agreement. Suddenly, the elemental giant's roar resounded from outside. No, I can't accept this. History shouldn't be like this. Ho! A powerful wave of power came from all directions. The entire world abruptly scattered, turning into a chaotic scene of light. At this moment, the orange cat and Net Gu Shan both understood. According to the original timeline of history, this should be the final moment before the world's destruction. In other words, they held on until the very last moment. Net Gu Shan pondered and said, I'll probably be teleported to the Azura's tomb, a hidden place which is upstream from where you are. The orange cat reached his paw out and gave the jade disc to her, saying, meow, meow. Salted fish Gu Shan nodded and said, yes, with the jade disc. I'll help you take a look at the situation. It was Net Gu Shan who gave them a warning when the apocalypse was flowing down the river. Since someone had informed him in advance, the response was naturally different. All of a sudden, Net Gu Shan was pulled away by a force and disappeared from the orange cat's sight. Everything around him was gradually melting away. The gloomy and cold tomb river reappeared. The wraith's corpse floated silently in the water. The orange cat descended. He turned back into Gu Shan, standing on the back of the wraith's corpse. Noisy voices came from all around. What's going on? Why didn't Beast King God return? Where are the others? Why are there only us? Gu Shan looked around, only to see over a dozen humans standing on top of the wraith's corpse, looking around. They were all Beast King God subordinates. Azura King Gu Shan had chosen a group of people to accompany the Beast King God in death, but considering that it would be bad to have too many people, these people were the only ones left. Shan Haichi Xia had also returned and hurriedly signaled to him with her eyes. What should we do now? Everyone on our side is already dead. If we really had a fight, the two of us definitely wouldn't be a match for these people. As Gu Shan was about to say something, a hand suddenly appeared from the void of space, placing the jade disc in front of him. Gu Shan received it and scanned it with her inner sight. Net Gu Shan's voice came from the jade tablet. About that, I didn't think I would still be where I was. If you're still on a Wraith Corpse's back, please pay attention. Another unique apocalypse has arrived on your side. I've come into contact with this apocalypse before. It belongs to the category that bullies the weak and fears the strong. It will judge the various forces on its own, then drag the smaller group of people into some sort of apocalypse illusion. You only have a single woman with you. Make sure to be careful. Gu Shan put the jade tablet away, then turned to the monsters. In front of him, his mind quickly turning. The only one left on my side is Shan Haichi Xia, while there are still over a dozen of the Beast King God subordinates. If I allow this to continue, wouldn't the ones who would be dragged into the illusion be me and Shan Haichi Xia? Gu Shan paused briefly, then suddenly shouted, "All of you, shut up!" His shout drowned out everyone else's voices. "War Shaman, what do you want?" one of the monsters asked. Gu Shan calmly looked at it, then said something that shocked everyone. The Beast King God had been killed by Gu Shan. What? The monsters immediately turned to look at one of them. That person was kneeling on the Wraith's corpse's back, muttering something. A scattered piece of bone was tossed out, rolled about, and formed a pattern. That person stared closely at the piece of bone, then sighed. The shaman is correct. The boss is dead, killed by a human sword cultivator. All the monsters were speechless. After a long while, someone finally spoke up. "I can't believe it. His Grace the Beast King God had clearly stolen such an inheritance and obtained unparalleled power from the legends. How could he still lose to a human?" The person who performed the divination earlier replied. "It was a pincer attack from both the apocalypse and the human race. Otherwise, His Grace the Beast King God wouldn't have died." He suddenly turned to Gu Shan and shouted, "Your Grace War Shaman, you've clearly formed an alliance with the Beast King God. Why didn't you act?" Gu Shan smiled and replied, "Your Beast King God wanted to kill me as well, so why would I care about our previous alliance? I can help the shaman prove this." Shan Haichi Xia walked up and lightly shook her bell towards Gu Shan. A scene slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was the scene of when the Beast King God forced the shaman to investigate the black fog at the city gate. This time, all the monsters were speechless. Gu Shan looked at these monsters and calmly said, "The era is always choosing the strong, and fate is also choosing those who are suitable to continue living. This apocalypse has proven one thing." Everyone turned to him. Gu Shan focused his gaze on the war god UI, then silently activated Most Amorous Man from the War God title tab. He slowly said, "The Beast King God's death proves that he is unable to lead you to achieve what you originally wanted to do. And as the War Shaman, I am currently the strongest entity. I am the true leader who is most suitable to lead you." Everyone was surprised. That makes sense. The Beast King God and the War Shaman were originally the two strongest entities, but they had always been at odds with each other on the surface. And now, the Beast King God is dead. The only one who can lead everyone is naturally the War Shaman. As soon as Gu Shan said that, the Most Amorous Man title on the War God UI instantly turned gray. This title's ability, makes sense, could only be used once per day. After the ability was activated, the title naturally became unusable. Gu Shan's expression turned cold and said, "I am the War Shaman, the wielder of the ethereal inheritance. In the future samsara clash for supremacy, I will also have a place for myself, and now, I will give you one final chance. Join me and work for me." Gu Shan casually said, "Once you miss this chance, I will not accept anyone else from among you. Your fate is in your own hands." Saying so, he took a few steps back and pulled away from everyone. "Those who want to work for me, come forward. I'll count from 10 to 1. I won't wait until you're out. 10, 9, 8, Shan Haichi immediately stepped forward. Following that, 7 to 8 of the dozen monsters walked towards Gu Qingshan. The remaining 5 to 6 monsters took a few steps back and formed a small group. 10 to 6. Gu Qingshan's expression didn't change, but he was feeling a bit more assured. He wasn't hoping that all of the monsters would agree. As long as he split them up, his goal would be achieved. Shaman, although you're powerful, we don't trust you, one of the monsters said. Gu Qingshan glanced at it and casually said, You're mistaken about something. That monster couldn't help but ask. What is it? Fool, I'm not begging you to become my subordinates. I'm merely pitying your fate of death, Gu Qingshan replied. At the very next moment, at the end of the Tomb River, a faint figure appeared in everyone's vision. Mobile version of the fastest updated website. Chapter 1346. It's coming. It's coming. Run. A clamor of voices resounded. At the end of the Tomb River, a ferocious, illusory shadow was quickly approaching like a dense fog. The wraith's corpse followed the flow of the river and slowly approached. The monster stood on top of the corpse, divided into 2 groups. One group surrounded Gu Qingshan, while the other group consisted of 7 to 8 people cautiously stood on the other side. On Gu Qingshan's side, a monster cautiously asked, Your Grace Shaman, do you think we should hide for a bit? Gu Qingshan smiled and asked in return, Have you seen this apocalypse before? The monster shook its head and replied, When I first infiltrated the inheritance grounds, there was only one type of apocalypse, so I've never seen this type of apocalypse before it turned around and roared. Which one of you released the doomsday illusion when you were escaping? The monsters all shook their heads, expressing that it wasn't them. Even the 7 or 8 monsters on the other side were confused. Gu Qingshan silently felt fear. Just now, this monster said the words release. Following that, the monsters began to recall the apocalypse illusion that they released. In other words, the monsters were trapped within a certain inheritance ground. In order to escape, they first had to swap bodies with the humans of the Tomb of Myriad Beasts, and secondly, they had to release that apocalypse illusion. What a bunch of trash. At this point, a small hand suddenly reached out and silently grabbed Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan turned to look. It was Shan Haichi. She was tightly holding Gu Qingshan's hand with a worried expression. I've discovered a pattern, she silently sent her voice. What is it? Gu Qingshan asked. I used the illusory bell to track the previous apocalypse illusion, as well as this apocalypse illusion that is about to arrive. I found that they weren't purposely trying to run into us, but rather needed to pass through this river to enter the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. You mean the apocalypse illusion that we ran in earlier had already entered the Tomb of Myriad Beasts? Gu Qingshan pursued. Shan Haichi replied. Indeed, it is currently passing through the underground cavern, heading towards one of the 8 grottos of this world. The northern mountain grotto, her eyes were red as she continued. We've never seen the previous apocalypse. So many people will definitely die inside. Gu Qingshan could only console him. Don't think too much about it. It's only an illusion after all. It's nothing compared to the real apocalypse. This matter is clear. It turns out that the apocalypses within the Tomb of Myriad Beasts had all descended upon the Tomb of Myriad Beasts in this manner. These guards unleashed the illusion of the apocalypse to take over the bodies of the humans within the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. Originally, they had many better ways to survive, but they chose the most ruthless one. Unfortunately, these monsters were too strong. Gu Qingshan estimated that even if she took them by surprise and attacked with all her might, she would only be able to kill one of them. Then, the other monsters would immediately counterattack. Damn it! They had stolen the inheritance of the 6 paths and released the illusion of doomsday, but they were so powerful that it was not easy to deal with them. Gu Qingshan held back her killing intent and casually said, Just watch. This illusion of the apocalypse won't trouble us. As soon as she said that, the terrifying shadow of the apocalypse abruptly disappeared. It had descended onto the wraith's back. Everyone felt a chilling sensation of something wriggling around their bodies. After a single breath's worth of time, this sensation completely disappeared. The shadow of the apocalypse had disappeared. The 8 people who stood in front of Gu Shan also disappeared. Sir Shaman, the monsters exclaimed in shock. Icham, I saw it. They chose not to follow me. So this is their fate, Gu Shan casually replied. He walked in front of everyone and stared at the tomb river shrouded in fog. The monsters all went silent. They suddenly recalled that when the Beast King God was negotiating with the shaman had mentioned that he had people inside the tomb river. Now it seems the shaman knows the path ahead like the back of his hand. If that's the case, as the monsters looked at Gu Shan's back, they felt a sense of respect. The wraith's corpse hovered above the tomb river, slowly moving forward, while the shadow of the apocalypse remained where it was, slowly drifting towards the direction they came from. It will enter the tomb of myriad beasts. Gu Shan released his inner sight to observe for a while. His thoughts surged. This would be the most complicated situation he had ever been in. The Great Tomb, the Inheritance, the Samsara Sword, the Guards, the Apocalypse, the Wraith Realm, as well as the monsters that allied themselves with the Wraith Realm. There were numerous intertwining space-time here, and I could even run into my parallel world selves here. And below my feet, the Wraith's corpse that was playing dead. Gu Shan silently sighed. He had to restrain himself for a long time to not take out the Devil King Warden Rod and stab it into the Wraith's corpse. Because even the apocalypse couldn't pull this corpse into itself, this corpse must hold some sort of secret that isn't easy to deal with. Now isn't the time to turn hostile, so I can only pretend that I don't know. Gu Shan pondered for a while, then suddenly said, I came out the latest, so tell me everything you know. After this, I need to know everything before I can decide what to do. Hearing that, the monsters exchanged glances and didn't say anything. Gu Shan paused briefly, then suddenly chuckled. Perhaps you're still loyal to the already dead Beast King God? His voice abruptly raised, carrying a hint of genuine, killing intent. That's serious. The War Shaman is an entity on the same level as the Beast King God. Once he becomes angry, who would be able to bear the consequences? Those 8 people, just now, didn't even need the shaman himself to act. The monsters all trembled. Very quickly, a middle-aged man stepped forward. He was the one who used the piece of bone to divine the Beast King God's whereabouts. Sir Shaman, in truth, under the Beast King God's lead, we're currently searching for the delimitation sword's fragments. Fragments? Gu Shan asked. That's right, because too many apocalypses were unleashed within this great tomb. The sword was already unable to hold on any longer and had broken into many fragments. Currently stationed at various locations within the tomb river, the man replied. Continue, Gu Shan said. The reason why we're searching for the delimitation sword's fragments is because while the Wraith Realm people appeared to be studying the Wraith corpses with us, they had actually already found the Samsara True Tomb, where they obtained the sword's main body, the man explained. Another person chimed in. By the time we reacted, they had already begun to search for the divine sword's fragments. So the more fragments we obtain, the more room for negotiation when the time comes. Gu Shan's heart sank. The Wraith Realm people have already obtained the sword? This is going to be troublesome. The monsters continued. Shaman, you're also their target, because you took the strongest inheritance, ethereal, with you. I heard that this inheritance is related to a certain identity in the future. After saying so, they all turned to Gu Shan. The Beast King God originally came to obtain ethereal, but before he could even obtain it, he had already died. In comparison, the shaman is a bit more vicious. Gu Shan's expression was expressionless, not missing a single detail. My future identity, he silently thought, then quickly recalled the scene when he killed the shaman and obtained ethereal. At the time, the war god UI had explained Frowny Face you are one of the lords of war of the Samsara, qualified to participate in the new era's Samsara clash for supremacy. Your inherited fist technique is the proof of your status in the war. The Wraith Realm coveted ethereal. They desired to obtain that status. Go on. Gu Shan gestured for him to continue. The man's expression suddenly showed a hint of urgency and said, "Sir, the Wraith Realm people have brought the sword's main body with them, currently searching the great tomb for its fragments. We need to quickly gather as much as we can, then quickly leave." Gu Shan looked at him. He was also looking at Gu Shan with a contemplative gaze. Gu Shan muttered, "So that's how it is. Once the Wraith Realm people take that sword away, the Great Tomb would no longer have any treasures to suppress the apocalypses. All the apocalypses would come out in full force, attacking the tomb of myriad beasts, as well as the countless worlds around it. Correct?" Hearing that, the man lowered his head. "That is indeed the case. Sir Shaman, we need to quickly gather some benefits. Otherwise, if we stay in the Great Tomb for too long when all the apocalypses erupt, we would undoubtedly die." Chapter 1347. As soon as Gu Shan found out about the truth of the matter. At the end of the Tomb River, there was a large tomb here. In front of the tomb, 3 old men were hovering in the air. They were the 3 Wraith Lords of the Wraith Realm. Surrounding them, the people of the Wraith Realm were all kneeling on the ground. At a glance, there were over 1,000 of them. Among them, there were even some who weren't wearing Yaksha masks. They were the guards of this tomb. The 3 Wraith Lords had used some unknown method to subdue them and turn them into their subordinates. Everyone was completely silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. They seemed to be waiting for something. A few moments later, a man wearing Yaksha mask descended from above, knelt on one knee in front of the 3 Wraith Lords, and spoke. "Wraith Lords, the main fragments have been collected. We can depart at any time." One of the Wraith Lords replied, In truth, it doesn't matter if we have the fragments or not. With so many worlds under our control, we naturally have a way to reforge this sword," another Wraith Lord casually said. "Then let's go, take this Samsara delimitation sword with us, and return," the 3rd Wraith Lord said. "What's the hurry? Let me take a look at this tomb. This is the true Samsara tomb, manifested from the fusion of 99% of the Beast King realm's fragments." His gaze was full of admiration as he looked straight ahead. The other 2 Wraith Lords followed his gaze, only to see that this true Samsara tomb was completely made from a giant sword carved from rock. The giant sword was stabbed deep into the ground. At the point where the sword and the ground connected, countless strange creatures were carved, all of them displaying expressions of pain. 61 types of creatures, one of the old men said. In other words, among the 61 inheritances hidden here, the only one of them, ethereal, had already disappeared, and it was our true target, another old man regretfully said. The 3rd old man said, "We'll talk about the inheritances later. Right now, we have to leave." The other 2 Wraith Lords both nodded. "The delimitation sword has been taken away by us. All the apocalypses are about to erupt. It seems the tomb of myriad beasts will once again turn into countless fragmented worlds. There's not much time left. About half a minute later, everything here will be destroyed, followed by the tomb of myriad beasts." The 3 Wraith Lords stopped talking. They brought a large number of Wraith Realm humans with them and left this place. "So that's how it is. Once the Wraith Realm cultivators take that sword away, the Great Tomb would no longer have any treasures to suppress the apocalypses. All of the apocalypses would come out in full force, pouring into the tomb of myriad beasts." Saying so, Gu Shan glanced at Shan Hai-Chi-Xia. Her face turned pale. All apocalypses would descend upon the tomb of myriad beasts. This wasn't an illusion, but countless real apocalypses. Under the torrent of the endless doomsday, everything would be completely destroyed. Gu Shan grabbed her hand and pressed it hard, signaling her not to give herself away. As the wife of the war shaman, she would never reveal any emotions for the sake of the tomb of myriad beasts and humanity's destruction. Shan Hai-Chi-Xia understood and forced herself to appear calm. Gu Shan held the 9 Serenity incantation jade plate in her hand and passed this message to Net Gu Shan. At the same time, she looked at the monsters and asked, "Did you guys have any good targets before?" One of the monsters replied, "We found a certain graveyard that contained a very powerful apocalypse, and there were a lot of sword fragments guarding that graveyard. If that's the case, after we enter, we'll go and collect those fragments, Gu Qingshan said. The monsters replied in unison. Yes, your grace. The wraith's corpse continued to float forward. Shan Haiqi Xia felt extremely guilty, but there was nothing she could do other than hold Gu Qingshan's hand tightly, unable to say anything for now. All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan noticed something and reached his hand into the void of space. The 9 Serenity incantation jade plate returned to his hand. Net Gu Qingshan's voice resounded from his thoughts. See, all the apocalypses will erupt. It's over. I can't do anything about it. What about you? Gu Qingshan silently chuckled bitterly, then silently sent her voice. It was already so hard to deal with a single illusion. If a real apocalypse appears, just the two of us wouldn't be able to deal with it. Not to mention, it wasn't just a single real apocalypse, but all of them. As soon as he put the 9 Serenity incantation jade plate into the void of space, it returned. Inedi Gu Qingshan's voice resounded. Oi, be careful. An apocalypse illusion that I've never seen before is heading towards you. It's very fast. Oh no, you won't be able to dodge it. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. Watch out, he let out a roar. Everyone was confused. Suddenly, a mass of light flew towards them from the front of the Tomb River. This mass of light was so fast that it was almost as fast as a thought. As soon as they saw it, they were already enveloped by it. Shah! Everyone was sucked into the mass of light and disappeared. A few moments later, the wraith's corpse that had been floating above the Tomb River also disappeared. The world was spinning. Gu Qingshan landed on the ground. Following that, Shan Haiqi Xia also landed. Around them was a city ruin that stretched as far as the eye could see. The monsters were clearly not here, so they were transported somewhere else. Another apocalypse illusion. Gu Qingshan felt a headache coming on. All the sealed apocalypses were about to erupt, but I was transported into another apocalypse illusion at this crucial moment. Wait a minute. If I stay within a certain apocalypse illusion, would I be able to avoid the other apocalypses? For example, would I be able to avoid the long-cheeked skull while I'm in this illusion? That apocalypse was too terrifying. A single glance from it was enough to separate them from time and space, forever falling into a state of emptiness. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, Shan Haiqi Xia was covering her face with her hand, silently crying. I have no way to save anyone, she said while crying. Gu Qingshan sighed. Not too long after I entered this world, the Wraith Realm had already taken away the delimitation sword. It's too late. I don't know. I can't predict. I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. Right now, the Wraith Realm is about to release all of the apocalypses. Or have they already left and released all of them? This is a state of despair that doesn't give me any chances. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, 4 swords suddenly manifested behind him. Shan Haiqi Xia also sensed it, so she took out the small bell and looked forward with him. A wraith was standing on top of a broken wall. Its entire body was composed of drifting black fog. The thick fog outlined its vicious facial features. It's you, Gu Qingshan and Shan Haiqi Xia both called out. This wraith's appearance and form were the same as the wraith's corpse that carried them into the Tomb River earlier. It spoke. Time is of the essence. Let's keep this short. After the guards betrayed us, the illusions of the apocalypses began to seep out from the great tomb. I had no choice but to split myself into many fragments and use them to suppress various parts of the great tomb. But I've been unable to hold on for much longer. According to my original plan, I was going to choose a master from among those who entered the great tomb to help me stabilize the apocalypses. Unfortunately, it was too late. Just now, the Wraith Realm had already taken my main body away. Without my main body, all of the apocalypses would immediately erupt at this point. It paused and looked at the two of them. Gu Qingshan continued. So you're that sword spirit? No wonder you weren't caught up in every apocalypse, instead continuously sending people into the Tomb River. I assume that the illusions of the apocalypses that appeared earlier were drawn by you as well, to test and choose a master? That's correct. The Wraith Realm's people are too powerful. causing the situation to go beyond my expectations. I don't have the time to choose. The wraith made a black fog, looked at Gu Shan, and raised its hand. In its hand was a section of pure black wood carved into two wraith heads, intertwining to form a handle. The sword handle. It continued. This is the sword handle that I've hidden away. As long as the Wraith Realm's people don't obtain this sword handle, they won't be able to fully control me. The situation is urgent. So, I hope that you can take this sword handle and quickly escape from this great tomb. If you can take me with you and immediately escape, I shall bestow upon you a few inheritances from the great tomb. These inheritances are not like the ethereal that you possess. They can be studied by multiple people, capable of helping the people around you to quickly grow stronger. After that, I will follow you to the Wraith Realm and think of a way to reclaim the sword body. If you perform exceptionally well during this process, I will also consider accepting you as my master. But not now. Hearing that, Gu Shan fell silent. This time, the Wraith artifact spirit felt strange. I'm the artifact spirit of a world deity artifact of the 6th realm. How many people would go insane hearing me say such a thing? But he remained silent. What is he thinking? The Wraith artifact spirit continued. All of the apocalypses are about to erupt. Do you intend to stay here? You're alone. You won't be able to change this, and you won't be able to destroy all of the apocalypses. This is a complete collapse. No one can do anything about it. That's why. Take me with you and leave right now. Gu Shan still said nothing. He turned to Shan Haiqixia. Shan Haiqixia was on the verge of collapsing. The tomb of myriad beasts is about to be destroyed. She silently shed tears and muttered. Gu Shan sighed. That's right, it's already too late to evacuate those people. Li Qiuyu and her sister, Zhao Qiong, Wang Shun, and the rest will all die within the apocalypse. Those people, the people of the tomb of myriad beasts, will all die within the endless apocalypse. At this point, the Wraith artifact spirit turned into black fog, completely entered the sword hilt, and flew in front of Gu Shan. Its voice resounded again. Gu Shan, there's not much time left. I've trapped those traitorous guards. We need to take this chance to escape. Gu Shan went silent for a brief moment, then spoke up. Still want to try. Shan Haiqixia abruptly looked up, wiped her tears, and looked at him. She opened her mouth slightly, but didn't dare to ask anything. She was afraid that he would say something that would make her feel even more despair. The Wraith artifact spirit scoffed. You're indeed powerful, but before the endless apocalypse, everyone is nothing but an ant. That's right, Gu Shan admitted. All of us are nothing but ants in front of the apocalypse. His gaze turned to Shan Haiqixia. I've agreed to help you, he said. Shan Haiqixia looked back at him. I'll say this first. I can only try. If there's really no other way, we'll have to retreat. After all, we can't just stay here and die, he said. Shan Haiqixia grabbed his hand and spoke with a trembling voice. I, Shan Haiqixia, hereby swear, I am the only person in the entire tomb of myriad beasts who has obtained the inheritance and whose soul still remains. I represent all combatants of the tomb of myriad beasts who know everything in secret to form an alliance of life and death with you. Gu Shan nodded, then turned to the sword hilt shrouded in black fog and said, Wait a moment. The Wraith artifact spirit's voice resounded. What else do you want? Gu Shan wielded the twin swords heaven and earth. Luo Bingli, he silently called out. HM? I'm here. Luo Bingli's voice resounded. I remember back in the age of old, you were the one who put away all the components of the eternal abyss aside from the twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Shan said. Your eyes are truly sharp. That is indeed the case, Luo Bingli replied. Gu Shan continued. I remember, when Lin was hiding in the shadows, you asked me to guess your identity. In truth, you were the artifact spirit of that eternal abyssal weapon. You were already born when the weapon was created, and the twin swords heaven and earth should be called. Abyssal soul artifact, the main body of the eternal abyssal weapon, the evil suppressor of the bottomless abyss, the protector of extinction, the sword that betrays fate, the key to infinite worlds. Luo Bingli slowly understood. then displayed an expression of disbelief. Gu Shan's eyes flickered with a faint glow as she muttered, "This matter is very troublesome, very troublesome. I could die if I'm not careful. Furthermore, even if I die, I wouldn't be able to save those people, the tomb of myriad beasts. As the saying goes, it's hard to clap with only one hand." Luo Bingley stayed silent for a bit, then said in a convinced tone, "Which means what you want to do is, since I can't deal with the current situation by myself, I want to quickly make a trip to a parallel world." Gu Shan paused, then continued, "The only problem is even if I go to a parallel world, no one would easily believe me in such a short amount of time. That's why I'm going to gather some of my subordinates as reinforcements for this battle." Chapter 1348. The heaven sword flashed and turned into a beautiful girl. "Luo Bingley," she casually said, "for an unspeakable matter, the eternal abyss gathered knowledge and wisdom from the boundless void. Only after countless years did it manage to find the method to forge the twin swords heaven and earth, according to the 8 causality powers. The eternal abyss specifically created 8 different components to help unleash the power of the twin swords heaven and earth and open the infinite world's gate hidden within the boundless laws. 8 uniquely shaped components appeared from a void of space. As they appeared, the entire void of space itself began to distort. Gu Shan appeared nostalgic. He recalled the final moments of the age of old. Shan Haiqi appeared stunned and muttered, "So these are the legendary twin swords heaven and earth." These components circled around Luo Bingley, at the same time pushing the void of space in every direction, manifesting layers of illusions. The illusions of many parallel worlds. Luo Bingley continued, "The Earth Sword and I each wield 2 different types of power. One is destruction, the other is life. These are the laws that govern the alternating growth of all living beings, and even worlds. But with the twin swords heaven and earth at the same time, life and death are both complete, surpassing the laws of this world and manifesting the infinite worlds." The Earth Sword also spoke with a heavy mountainous voice. "Gu Shan, are you ready?" Gu Shan replied, "There might be problems with other matters, but I'm only going to look for myself. I'm confident in this," Luo Bingley said. Then all of a sudden, the Wraith Artifact Spirit's voice resounded from the side. "Wait." The black fog scattered, the sword hilt disappeared, and the jet-black wraith once again appeared in front of Gu Shan. Its tone was no longer as hurried as before, instead becoming more solemn. "If you're able to do this, then there's no need for me to continue acting. You're not in a hurry to escape?" Gu Shan smiled and asked. The wraith scoffed, "I'm an entity that can suppress the apocalypse. Do you really think I'm going to run away?" Gu Shan went silent. This schemer was indeed acting just now. The evil ghost continued, "I never thought that someone would be able to do this, but since I can see a glimmer of hope, I will not give up just like that." The black fog gradually dispersed and turned into a turbulent wind that flowed endlessly. Soon, a wall of wind made entirely of black mist appeared. This wall surrounded the place where Gu Shan was. Hoo. The fog flowed rapidly within the walls, as if it was gathering something. The evil spirit's voice rang out again. "As you probably know, Gu Shan, the great necropolis is made up of many distorted dimensions of space-time. I'll buy you some time." Gu Shan looked at the walls of black fog around her and clasped her fist. "Thank you, but what are you referring to?" The wraith replied, "I will erase a portion of this place's time. Only when you return will I restore time to this place again." Gu Shan pondered for a bit, then asked, "Then, no matter how long I'm gone, not a single second or minute would have passed in this place when I return, correct?" "A bit of time would also pass, but not much. Don't worry, you will have enough time to find reinforcements. There's no need to worry about the passage of time at this point." The wraith's tone carried a hint of unwillingness. "Unfortunately, my main body was taken away. My power is greatly limited, so this is the best I can do." Gu Shan was speechless. Shan Hai Chi Xia blankly muttered. This is already very powerful, far more powerful than I could have ever imagined. If it weren't this powerful, it wouldn't have been able to suppress so many apocalypses. Gu Shan silently muttered in her mind. Directly taking away time, what an unimaginable feat since such a power was willing to help. Gu Shan felt a bit more confident. Luo Bingli, Earth Sword, are you ready? Gu Shan asked. I'm ready, but there's something you need to understand first. Luo Bingli silently sent her voice. What is it? Gu Shan also sent her voice. The 8 components of the Eternal Abyssal artifact could originally help you bring a few things back from a parallel world, but now that you're bringing a lot of living beings with souls with you, this will put a lot of pressure on the various components. The Earth Sword also sent its voice. The Heaven Sword and I will naturally be fine, but bringing people back from a parallel world like this will cause the 8 components to be greatly damaged. You mean I can only use this method once? Gu Shan asked. Yes. Once you send those people back to their original worlds, the 8 components will be completely destroyed, Luo Bingli replied. Gu Shan hurriedly asked, will the 2 of you be fine? The Earth Sword replied. We won't. Gu Shan sighed in relief and sent her voice. As long as the 2 of you are fine, at this point, the Wraith had run out of patience. His voice resounded from the layers of black fog. Brat, are you going to find someone to help or not? Gu Shan glanced at the walls of black fog around them and smiled. Of course. Let's go. Got it. Luo Bingli and the Earth Sword both replied. Instantly, the 8 components began to spin in a frenzy, pushing the void of space even further away. The images of the parallel worlds became even brighter. The twin swords Heaven and Earth suddenly spoke in unison. Now, coming. Gu Shan shouted. He wielded a sword in each hand and abruptly slashed forward. 2 vast sword images flashed by. A certain image was slashed apart, revealing a rapidly shrinking passage. Gu Shan's figure shifted and entered the passage. As soon as he entered, the passage disappeared. Witnessing this, Shan Hai Chi Xia went silent for a long while, then sighed. I've never thought something like this would happen. The Wraith's mocking laughter resounded from the void of space. Little girl, you're still too young. The void is endless. There are still many things you haven't seen. Shan Hai Chi Xia raised her eyebrows and asked. Have you ever seen someone go to a parallel world like this before? The Wraith's laughter stopped. A deep, dark, endless void. Suddenly, a person appeared out of nowhere from the void of space. Gu Shan. He looked around, only to see that the space vortex was completely empty. Occasionally, a few strange objects would be blown away by the wind of the void. I overlooked a certain problem, Gu Shan said. What problem? The Earth Sword asked. Although there's enough time, how am I supposed to find myself? Gu Shan asked. Luo Bingli's voice resounded from the Heaven Sword. Everything in this world is unfamiliar to you, but there's only one entity that you can faintly sense, and that is yourself. So, I need to sense myself? Saying so, Gu Shan closed her eyes. How interesting. I found him. I mean myself. Gu Shan's figure moved and flew toward a certain direction. After going through 3 super-dimensional worlds, he quickly arrived outside the 900 million world layers. Gu Shan's homeworld. After spending a bit more effort, Gu Shan finally found himself in this parallel world. Oh no, this world's timeline is too early. Gu Shan sighed. He formed a concealment hand seal and silently stood in the air outside an academic building. Through the glass window, he could see that the academic building was completely silent. All the students were focused on their exam papers. The Gu Shan of his teenage years was also among them. He was focused on solving a mech construction question. Gongzi, is this your teenage self? Shanu's voice came. That's right, keep it down. This is an extremely important exam. We can't disturb everyone here with our voices, Gu Shan cautiously told her. Is this exam very important? Luo Bingli asked. HM, this is an exam that's closely related to everyone's fate. Of course, the results of the exam are important, but what's even more important is a person's choice of path and determination to continue down it. The heavens will reward the diligent, and the heavens will never mistreat those who are willing, Gu Qingshan replied. Ah, the four swords silently sighed. They curiously stared at the young boy outside the window. Gu Qingshan said, "At this point in time, I still haven't experienced anything. Seems like we'll have to move to a parallel world to find the other me. Then let's go. Let's move to another world before leaving." Gu Qingshan turned around to look at the academic building. His gaze moved away from the young boy and himself, looking at the familiar and unfamiliar faces. Everyone was trying their best. This was the time to struggle. Gu Qingshan smiled and muttered, "This is a fair and worthy battle. I wish you all the best." Chapter 1349. A streak of light appeared in the sky. As if it already had a target in mind, it flew through the night sky like a meteor, quickly heading towards the endless grassland. Gu Qingshan landed by the grassland lake and looked at his other self. His other self was also looking at him. "Ah, this feeling is quite miraculous." "So you are me?" the other Gu Qingshan asked. "That's right, on my way here. I heard that you're called the Myriad Realm Sword Saint." Gu Qingshan replied. The other Gu Qingshan pondered. "It's only a title. No need to mind it too much. I can sense that your swordsmanship isn't any weaker than mine. Furthermore, you're exactly the same as me. Coupled with the abnormal spatial fluctuations just now, could it be that you came from a parallel world?" Gu Qingshan praised. Smart, truly demon-like wisdom. Behind him, the sword were whispering to each other. The Earth Sword asked with a resounding voice, "Doesn't he feel embarrassed praising himself like that?" Luo Bingley replied, "He's thick-skinned. He won't blush at all," Shanu explained for Gu Qingshan. "That's the other him. He wasn't praising himself," the Chao Yin sword chimed in agreement. Sword Saint Gu Qingshan went silent for a bit, then asked, "Did you come to find me because you ran into some trouble in your world?" Gu Qingshan replied, "Yes, I might not be able to deal with that situation by myself, so I needed some reinforcements." He then told her everything that happened in the tomb of myriad beasts. Hearing that, Sword Saint Gu Qingshan slowly smiled. To be able to observe the apocalypse from such a close distance and fight alongside myself, how could I miss out on such an interesting thing? He stood up. "Also, you said that one of me carries Eniti, while the other me is the Azura King?" "Yes. Do you carry the order?" Gu Qingshan asked. "I do have one. It's World's Apocalypse Online Demon King Order," Sword Saint Gu Qingshan replied. "Demon King Order? Listen to me. It was actually tampered with by the awaitings of the Chaos faction." Gu Qingshan's expression changed. Sword Saint Gu Qingshan waved her hand dismissively. "It's fine. We've fixed this order." Gu Qingshan breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. We still have to find our other selves. How about we leave this world now?" "Give me a few minutes. I need to tell my disciple something," Sword Saint Gu Qingshan said. Gu Qingshan was startled. "I actually accepted disciples," he muttered to himself. Sword Saint Gu Qingshan replied, "With Shifu's permission, I can now accept my own disciple. I'll call him over." He took out a communication talisman and said a few words into it. Then, he activated his spiritual energy and released the talisman. Moments later, a dignified young man flew over from the grassland. "Master! Master!" the young man shouted excitedly. Suddenly, he turned pale with fright and said, "Wow! Oh no, why are there two Shifu?" He suddenly realized something and joyfully asked, "Master, you've learned how to split into 10 million?" Gu Qingshan stared closely at the young man and sent her voice to her other self. "What did you see in him when you took him in as a disciple?" His character and abilities, Sword Saint Gu Qingshan also sent her voice. Gu Qingshan became interested and sent her voice again. Character aside, what abilities does he have? Sound type ability, Sword Saint Gu Qingshan proudly said. Within a world, as long as his ability is activated, no one will be able to speak, and if anyone goes against it, they will be immediately expelled from the world. Gu Qingshan nodded. That's quite rare. There might be a chance for him to advance in the future. Indeed, I think so as well. Sword Saint Guqin Shan waved her hand towards the young man and said, "Come, Hailan. I'm about to leave. I have something to tell you. Yes, Shifu." After Sword Saint Guqin Shan spoke with the young man called Hailan for a while, he was assured and followed Guqin Shan out of this parallel world. Another parallel world. Guqin Shan and Sword Saint Guqin Shan formed a concealment hand seal and silently landed on the balcony of a certain building. A few moments later, a silhouette sneaked out in a hurry. As soon as he saw the two of them on the balcony, he was a bit surprised. "Could it be my parallel world self?" he asked. "That's right. We have something we need to do. It's up to you whether or not you're willing to come," Guqin Shan replied. He told her what had happened. Hearing that, the other Guqin Shan sincerely replied, "Such a challenging matter. Of course, I wouldn't refuse as soon as she said so." The sound of a baby crying could be heard from inside the room, followed by an impatient female voice. "Guqin Shan, the baby is crying." The other Guqin Shan hurriedly ran back and said, I'm coming. When he reached the door, he turned around and gestured to the two of them outside. "Wait a bit for me, Bam." The door was closed. A faint voice could be heard from inside. "Baby, don't cry. Daddy's here to comfort you." Both Guqin Shan and Sword Saint Guqin Shan were surprised. They couldn't help but release their inner sight to observe the situation inside the room, only to see that the other me was holding a small baby, hurriedly making milk powder. After the baby was fed, he cradled the baby in his arms, rocking him while coaxing him to sleep. Sword Saint Guqin Shan scowled. "Idiot, you can't rock him. Once you get used to it, you'll have to rock him every time he sleeps." Guqin Shan. "Why do you know about such things? What do you think?" Sword Saint Guqin Shan replied. Their inner sight continued to scan the room. In another room, four women were playing cards. Su Sher, Anna, Ning Yuechan, and Lin. "Touch," Lin said. "Why do you keep touching my cards?" Su Sher complained. "Because I have cards in my hand. It's very simple," Lin replied. "Wait a minute. I won. Pay up, pay up. Don't argue anymore. If you really can't talk it out, you can go fight it out in the space vortex," Ning Yuechan said. "I don't mind. I've been wanting to fight for a while now," Lin smiled. Anna pulled Su Sher behind her and looked up. "Lin, you're so strong. How can you bully the weak? How about the two of us play with you?" "Why not? You should know that fighting isn't something that can be won with numbers alone," Lin scoffed. Bam! A gleaming long blade was slammed on the table. The three women stopped arguing. Ning Yuechan put her hand on the hilt of the blade and casually said, "I don't care how you argue. I won just now. Pay up." At this point, that Guqin Shan had already coaxed the child to sleep. He quickly walked out and sent his voice to the two Guqin Shans on the balcony. "Come, take me with you. We're going to fight against the apocalypse together." The two of them looked at him, only to see his eyes full of longing and longing. Guqin Shan, Sword Saint Guqin Shan. Guqin Shan took a deep breath and muttered, "This must be taken as a warning." Sword Saint Guqin Shan nodded and muttered, "Indeed, we must take this as a warning, both of us." Another parallel world. Baihua Sect. Orchid Hall. A Guqin Shan was sitting on a cushion with an expression of realization. "I was wondering how someone could sneak into Orchid Hall without anyone noticing. So it was me, Guqin Shan, Sword Saint Guqin Shan, and Guqin Shan who was coaxing the child." All nodded. "That's what happened. We need more power to fight against those apocalypses," Guqin Shan said. Orchid Hall's Guqin Shan asked, "Why didn't you find more people? Why only yourself?" "Because the situation is urgent. I don't trust anyone but myself right now." Guqin Shan shrugged. All of a sudden, a female voice came from the entrance of the hall. "If you don't trust anyone else, what about me?" The other Guqin Shans all turned to look. 100 Flowers Fairy, White Goose, Qin Xiaolu, Xiao Xiao, Wan Air, and Qing Ro were all standing at the entrance of the hall. Xiao Lu rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief, "Junior brother, how did you also know how to split into millions? I heard from Shifu that only female cultivators can do this." He glanced at Guqin Shan. Bam! White Goose slapped him and said, "Idiot, These are Gu Qing Shan from other worlds. Xiao Xiao was surprised. Why are they all here? Wan Er and Qing Ro looked at each of the Gu Qing Shan's faces, exchanged glances, and silently nodded. It's him. It really is him. So there really are parallel worlds.